On today's special episode of Homeworthy, we're showcasing 4 unique homes packed with smart, stylish, and budget-friendly DIY ideas. First, we head to Cleveland to explore a warm and welcoming home filled with upcycled thrift finds, bold pops of teal, and classic black and white details. Then we make our way to New York City to tour a charming 375 square foot apartment brimming with renter-friendly hacks and secondhand treasures that prove you don't need a lot of space to make a big impact. Next, we're off to Atlanta, where a stunning home has been thoughtfully transformed one room at a time, complete with a speakeasy-inspired basement. And finally, we visit Lexington, Kentucky for a look inside a collected and creative home filled with personality, thrifted gems, and clever DIY touches around every corner. This summer, spend the hottest months of the year in style with Homeworthy as we visit the most extraordinary homes around the world. From the sun-soaked shores of the Hamptons to the classic beachfronts of Nantucket to the vibrant courtyards of Morocco, be sure to subscribe to Homeworthy's summer series to make every day feel like a vacation. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hey Homeworthy, my name's Stephanie. Welcome to my home here in Ohio. I can't wait to show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name's Stephanie Foyer. I'm a realtor and interior designer. Welcome to my home in University Heights, Ohio. We purchased this home in 2011 when I became pregnant with our first child. We lived in an awesome old apartment with lots of character, so we were looking for that same kind of style without buying something too large, and this is where we ended up, and we love it. Well, during the time we were looking for homes, I was very pregnant, probably from about 4 months pregnant to almost 9 months pregnant. We looked at over 60 homes, and it wasn't that I was just drawn to this home or layout or style. It was just a vibe. I go off of vibes, and this was the first home that just felt good. I did have a vision for it without doing many renovations. We were young. I had no intentions on renovating anything, to be honest. I just wanted to come in and style it as it is. But I was really drawn to our large window in the living room and the hardwood floors, as well as some of the details and the trim and the molding, kind of like that old style. I really love old homes. So this was perfect for us as a family of 3 at the time, and I just really loved the neighborhood. So this is one of my favorite Facebook Marketplace finds. My home is filled with Facebook Marketplace finds. I got this table, these 2 vintage lamps, as well as another table and a lamp that aren't in here, but I got it all for $10. So this I put behind the sofa so that I could have little slippers and shoe covers in here for guests, because we are a no shoe home. And this ottoman, it's actually from Tav Furniture, and it has all of our furry blankets and everything for winter when we're cuddling up on the couch, or even in summertime with the air conditioning blasting. All of our blankets for the living room are in there. This area, I actually got this on Facebook Marketplace too. This is a project piece that I haven't started painting or anything yet, but I got this to house my son's gaming computer. He loves gaming, and I didn't want him just up in his room or up in the basement. We're a really close family, and I just wanted to make sure he was always with the family. So his whole setup is in here, and I just added these knobs for now, and it keeps his stuff hidden because I don't want to see it. But he's always hanging out and kind of is cut off because the door is open, and he can be in here with sound on, and we can still watch TV or sit by the fire, whatever we're doing, without having interruptions towards each other. So for now, I just kind of decorated. I found this art piece. This vase is from H&M. And I just have some of my favorite magazines and a magazine holder here. And this built-in bookshelf. It has a lot of my kids' books on it, a lot of my husband and I's books also, but I just kind of color coordinated them. You can't see it well, but the back of the bookshelf is actually painted black and white stripes. It was just a project I did years ago. But that houses a lot of our books. We're a big book family, so I have books everywhere. We all love to read. And I just like the color contrast of this. This planter is another one of my Facebook Marketplace finds. I actually painted this myself. I got 2 of these planters for 40 bucks on Facebook, and they were just really dingy. I spray painted them a matte black and then painted these white lines on here to kind of mimic the rug in the living room. I just recently moved the plant over here because I painted my fireplace black, and I just like the pop of green against black. This is also another Facebook Marketplace find, vintage, 5 bucks. I got this, and I just swapped out the old one we had. The old one we had was just like iron, and it didn't pop against the fireplace. So this is another one of my favorite finds because I like the brass together. This is also another Facebook Marketplace find, one of my favorites. I got this for 20 bucks, and I have been looking for this exact mirror for many, many years. My mother-in-law actually has the same one. And growing up, my mother decorated with, cranes and different type of birds and a little bit of Asian flair. And so I've always been really attracted to that. So this piece was really special when I finally found the exact one I wanted, and I was able to put it over my fireplace. As we move into the living room, I just want to show you around. This was a really hard space for me to design. This room is awkward, which you will find in a lot of older homes, but the fireplace is just not in the middle of the room. And so when we moved in, I was trying to figure out the best way to style this room to where we could be comfortable and enjoy the fireplace without the television being over the fireplace. So we've always had a sectional. This one's maybe four or 5 years old. I've always had the sectional facing this wall because we put our TV here, and it's on a kind of like swinging TV mount, and you can also pull it out, turn it any kind of way. We turn it towards the dining room a lot. We angle it this way depending on the glare of the sun, but everyone always asks why didn't I center it, and I just didn't want to be limited to what I could do on this wall. We have very limited wall space in this room. This is the only full wall. This wall is fireplace and 2 entryways. There's no wall there, and then back behind me is a very large window. So I put this here purposely so that we can turn it to the sectional, turn it to the dining room if we're all hanging out in there, and I can still display things. I love books, like I mentioned before. I love decor. A lot of these pieces I've had for a long time, and I just wanted to be able to have as much on this wall as I possibly could without the TV being the center focus. This is another one of my Facebook Marketplace finds from quite a few years ago. I got this for $35. It's actually a vintage founder's dresser in impeccable condition. I do paint a lot of the old vintage furniture I find, but this was in such good condition I would never ruin this. And so this actually houses my children's toys. I always say this is a very adult space. It's a lot of my stuff. I do have 3 kids, but just to give you an example, like all of my son's Hot Wheel toys are here. This drawer is all of his train tracks. Every drawer has a purpose. There's the puzzles, board games, Uno cards, all kinds of things in here. And I just keep each drawer organized by what type of thing, what type of toy it is. Another one of my favorite little things, and this was just very impulsive. I made this frame for the TV. I don't even know. It was probably under 20 bucks, but I ordered these little corners from Amazon, and I just stapled these black pieces together, these wood pieces, I shall say, and I painted them black. Just threw it up around the TV one day. I just got the idea. So I really like the way that it looks. Kind of just goes with the style of the dresser. Another one of my favorite Facebook Marketplace finds is this pedestal. I got a really good deal on this. It's so solid and heavy, but I've been looking for a marble pedestal forever. And I found this one. I don't know if it's actually real marble, but it definitely looks like it. So that, my plant used to be here, and I kind of swapped it out and just filled it with these little fake pieces of moss. This bookshelf, funny story, is from At Home several years ago. It was the last one on display. It had like a few nicks on it, and they gave it to me for a crazy good price, under $100, because they were discontinued. So I couldn't find another one. I got the last one, and I'm gonna keep this piece probably forever. It has a lot of my books and my favorite things on here that I like to just kind of stare at and get inspiration from and add pops of color to the room. This, I would say, is my favorite piece. My second favorite piece would have to be this boom box my sister got. She just bought it off the streets of New York City when she lived there, and it just, I get the most compliments on the actual boom box versus everything else on here. Some of these other pieces are things that I've had. This Buddha head I had probably, it's been probably close to 20 years. It was in my very first apartment. And I've carried it to every apartment and house since then. All these books I kind of just strategically picked based on things that I like, but also the colors. And yes, I do look through my coffee table books. I've looked through probably every single one. I actually have like cut out art pieces from some of them. But I do actually read these, and so do my kids. They like to look through the pictures, especially my daughter. But anytime I'm just curled up on the couch and I need inspiration, I will grab a book and just kind of flip through the pages or read if it's something I haven't read before. This disco ball is also another Facebook Marketplace find. I got this for 10 bucks one day. Drove an hour to get it. It goes from room to room wherever the sun is shining, and we have a lot of fun with it. But it really just brightens your day when the sun's hitting it and you got all the reflections on the walls and ceilings. So I move it from time to time, but most of the time it's usually in here in the living room. Another one of my Facebook Marketplace finds is this coffee table. It actually is pretty scratched up, but I wasn't worried about that because I know my kids are going to be playing cars on it. We're going to be playing board games. It's going to be ruined. So I did grab it just because I really love the look of it. I was told it was vintage, but I'm not sure. I couldn't find any maker's marks on it, but it was 30 bucks. It fit the style of the room. And like I said, I knew between my dog and my children, we were going to scratch it anyway. So I bought it, even though it does have quite a bit of scratches on the smoky glass, but we love this table. I typically don't style my coffee table. This stuff just happens to be randomly here today. I try to keep my coffee table empty just because I do have a lot going on everywhere else. I don't like every surface to be full, but my kids were playing with this little acrylic Jenga set, and we have a photo album here as well as one of my favorite books. And I just recently got these candle holders from Home Goods. They don't have candles yet, but again, I do love anything teal. So I couldn't pass these up. So I can't wait to get some cute candles to put in there and kind of light them for ambiance in the evening. So I get a lot of compliments on these pillows. I got them both from Home Goods. Again, pink. I don't know how I've ended up with so much pink, but it works. I'm not a huge fan of pink, but I do love the pink that's in my home. I also love any kind of animal print. So these were both these pillows were from Home Goods. I just recently painted this accent wall. For many years, these walls were gray and the fireplace wall was black since before we even moved in. That was something we did before we moved in. We painted all the walls. And so for years, I was trying to figure out what I could do with this wall, especially because I know there's a lot going on. And I'm a bit of a, I would say I'm a curated maximist. So I wanted to kind of figure out a color and a style that would complement everything that I had going on, because I was not willing to move any of the furniture that I had. So we went with a teal wall, which I absolutely love. And we did these slats to just kind of break it up. No rhyme or reason, I literally just started where my wire hider is. And where the wires are hidden, and I just went from there, and we really love the way it turned out. I like the contrast of the black against the teal, and it ties in the rest of the black walls in this room. So I decorated my home with a lot of colors. I love colors. I love black and white. I love the contrast of black and white. I'm drawn to it in fashion, in clothes, in art. I love the contrast of black and white. So in every room, I kind of started with a base of black and white, and I added in my colors. My favorite color is teal, so you will see that probably throughout every room in my home. The pink just kind of went with it. I love brass, I love gold. I will always love brass and gold no matter what's in style. So I kind of played on that as well. I also love black. So before we even moved in, I painted certain walls black, and that's because I've had black walls, I don't know, since I was 20, so it's been probably 20 years. I love black walls with white trim. I just love it. And so I knew, I didn't have a plan here, but I knew that that's where I was gonna start. So next, I'd like to take you into the dining room. The dining room is one of my favorite spaces. Every party we have, families always gathered around this table. This table is another one of my favorite pieces. It's a vintage Henredon table, maybe 1970. So Facebook Marketplace. This was actually being offered for free. Again, it was like pretty scratched up, which I didn't care, because my house is just as much mine as my kids, and they paint here, they make slime here, they play with cars here, so I knew they were gonna damage it anyways. So as soon as I saw it, I ran down and grabbed it. I actually got the middle leaf for it as well, which can't wait to use that at the next house in a much bigger dining room. But it was wood, and I don't know if the previous owner was using it maybe as like a paint table, art table. He had no idea, you know, just how valuable this table was, or that it was Henredon or anything. So there was paint splashed all over the wood legs. So I just painted it black versus trying to restore the wood. And it is just, I get a lot of compliments on it. It's one of my favorite things. I love the mirror because it just reflects light. We can fit, 8 people around here easily, for birthday parties and everything else. Many nights playing with family, Pokino and other games here. Lots of laughs, lots of memories, good food and drinks. So this is honestly probably something I will keep forever and try to incorporate into my decor forever. A lot of the pieces that I buy, I laugh because they're very large, and this is only a 1,700 square foot house. But I always say, in the next house, I do have major plans for every single piece here. Another Facebook Marketplace find, which it's kind of funny because I purchased these chairs originally maybe back in 2009, 2010 from IKEA. I actually had the ones with the arms on them. And when we moved here in 2011, I brought them here. I kept them because you can remove the covers and wash them. So we just had a baby. I knew that kids were gonna be making messes on my chair. So I just said, we'll keep these for as long as possible. So I did have them. I had 6 of them for probably up until maybe 2 years ago. I came across a Facebook Marketplace post of a woman with the same chairs, and hers were in impeccable condition at the time, versus mine that had gone through 3 babies, toddler, high chair, food, paint, slime, everything, you name it. So I immediately went and bought these 6 from her. Now, these don't have the arms on them, but I'm so obsessed with this print. I just wasn't ready to let mine go, so I couldn't believe that I found someone that had the exact same chairs, and they had been sitting in a conference room for literally 12 years, just barely used. So it was like getting brand new chairs. They are not in brand new condition anymore. Like I mentioned, if you look closely, there's food, there's paint. So I will probably be replacing these pretty soon, but these are one of my favorite IKEA prints that got discontinued a long time ago, and I'm just trying to suck the life out of these as long as I can. My curtains, again, I ordered black velvet curtains from Amazon. Same ribbon. I used double-sided tape, and I attached this ribbon to match the ribbon in my living room and entryway to kind of tie the curtains in together. The teal curtains were actually in this room first, and I didn't like the look, and so I was afraid to go with black, believe it or not, because I thought it would be too dark, but I'm actually obsessed. I love these, and it was kind of my husband's idea too. But I do love the look of the velvet, and I love the special touch of this ribbon. One of my Facebook Marketplace finds was this dresser. I actually got this for free as well. And I painted it this color. And again, this houses my kids' toys. I have 2 boys, so we have tons of cars. This has, my daughter has 2 art drawers here of just, this one's full of the brim, but my daughter has 2 art drawers of just all her little markers and art supplies. We have a drawer for Legos only, as well as every other drawer is organized based on the type of toy, because I like my kids to be able to play and enjoy the space, but put it away so we don't have to see it. So even though there's a lot of my stuff out, they have complete free reign of the house, as long as you clean up after yourself. Another Facebook Marketplace find, these lamps. So I actually got both lamps, I think, for $5, and they were like a beige and blue, but I was really attracted to the size of them, and I kind of recreated my own version of the famous Kelly Wearstler lamps, and I glued these knobs on with super glue. Spray painted them black. I purchased shades from At Home, and I added my own gold finial and the lamp base from Amazon to give it a little more height, and just, I love black, I love gold. And so I made these lamps, and it's funny because everyone always asks where I got them, and I'm like, hey, I made them for really good price. So these are another one of my favorite Facebook Marketplace finds. This area is not really styled to perfection, but I do think that it takes time. I love fresh flowers, I love vases, I love books, so this is kind of just hanging out here, but I'm not done with it. This print is one of my favorite. I ordered this from Amazon, but the artist does sell his prints on Society6 and other websites as well. And this just really stuck out to me. I love her sleeves and the jewels, as well as the colors. I don't typically like red in my house, but last year I partnered with Bear to reveal their 2025 color of the year, and it is actually my little dry bar, my makeshift dry bar over there. So when I saw the red, I kind of wanted to tie the 2 colors in, because I don't plan on repainting that anytime soon. One of my fun finds is this shelf from HomeGoods. It was originally well over $1,000, and I kept going back, and it was being marked down every week, and nobody was purchasing it. So I kept checking back until it went down to $100. And this was maybe, I don't know, 9-10 years ago. And I was able to get it. It had some scratches and damage on it, but I knew that I was going to have it covered with my things, because I love things. And so this is one of those pieces too that I'm going to hold on until it falls apart. But it does have some of my favorite glassware. These are just, nothing special, but from HomeGoods. But I really love the detail, and I love the color. And some of my favorite books. This plate set I've had for probably 10, 15 years. It's just, I don't know why I love it so much, but like I said, anything animal print in the right style, I will buy. And so this is just some of the stuff that I like to display and not let my kids touch. So over here is the bar that I mentioned before. So this actually was a cabinet with a white door on it. It was actually all white. It had a door similar to the door leading to my sunroom. And I took it off. And so last year when I announced the color of the year for Bear, Rumors, I was really excited to paint this cabinet turned bar in the color. And I just kind of just styled it. We're not huge drinkers, but like I said, when we have parties, this gets a lot of use. And I changed the style throughout the year or to match with different holidays. And there's nice storage under here, which I have painted the inside of this, and just has extra stuff, glasses, as well as decor that's not in use. But like I mentioned before, it's this house is almost 85 years old, so things are a little old and worn, but I did add this brass detailing. This is just, it's metal, but it's sticky on the back. It's like tape. And I got it off Amazon, so I just wanted to kind of break up the red and have a little pop of brass there. Here, one thing about me is I will swap art out like crazy. These are just ripped out of a magazine. I really was attracted to her face. I think it's really beautiful and striking, and I like that her face is in the magazine that this girl's wrapping her flowers in. So I just ripped them out of a magazine one day, and I framed them for the time being until I find something better, I guess. So this is also a Facebook Marketplace find. So it's funny because when I saw this posted, I went and immediately picked it up. And the seller was looking for a realtor, which I'm a realtor, and we became really close. And I actually sold her house and got her in a condo. And so this piece is just really special to me because she is very special to me. And this is another Henredon chest. So this is another forever piece. It had a little bit of damage on it and some scratches, so I did paint it black and added tassels like I do to everything else, polished up the brass the best that I could. And this is another one of those storage situations where kids' toys are in here. Some of my candles are in here, and then the rest is kids' toys organized by type of toy. So a lot of storage throughout my pieces because this house just has no storage. So that is my main reason for buying these large pieces, knowing they're probably slightly oversized for the space, but I need the storage for my kids and to be able to function. So this basketball hoop is one of my favorite pieces. I laugh because a lot of people ask for it, and I got it on a website called Culture Kings. I think it was shipped from Australia during the pandemic. And so they sold out like very quickly and you couldn't get another one. And so I know there's some other companies that make it, but it's just one of those things too that I'll probably hang on forever and pass it to my son. He can hang it in his room or something like that. Here I just have extra plates. I couldn't pass up on these plates, so I got the plates, the salad plates and the bowls and everything from H&M. I just really like the pattern. It kind of mimics my wallpaper, so I just have those up there for display. This light fixture, I get a lot of compliments and questions about it. So this is an old IKEA shade that I actually purchased probably right when I moved in this house. So the original chandelier is under here, and it's not attractive at all. And so it took me years to kind of find something I liked, and I just never kind of jumped and swapped out the light. So instead I was able to put this shade just around it by cutting the top of it and sitting it right over top of the original chandelier. And I don't think I'll ever change it. I like it so far more than any other chandelier that I've come across, and it just works for the space. When I became pregnant with our second child, my daughter, I knew I no longer wanted to work in corporate America. I was working at US Bank, home mortgage at the time. So I decided to get my real estate license. The realtor that helped us find this house, the one that actually kind of recruited me, and so I've been a realtor since 2016. From that, I started really getting into interior design. I won't credit it all to real estate. A lot of it is from my mother. But after, you've seen so many houses, I really started getting into interior design and staging, and I've been doing that over the last 3-4 years as well. I'd love to show you my sunroom next. I do want to point out tassels. You will see tassels everywhere in my house. I purposely picked this to match the bar because it's almost the same color as Roomers, so I just threw that on the doorknob for added flair. So this sunroom, we found out this was originally an outside porch without walls. It was added on probably some point in the 90s, maybe a little later. I wallpapered these 3 walls and just to kind of spruce it up back here. It has old windows. We don't come out here a lot because there is no heat. I think the previous owners at some point just kind of enclosed this in the cheapest way possible. So all of these walls were actually wood paneling when we moved in, really ugly wood paneling. And so we did drywall all of the walls except for this one. I kept the paneling because I thought it was kind of fun, accent wall. And so this wallpaper is from Walls Republic. I painted this black, painted the ceiling black, and we just put peel and stick tile back here since it's kind of like, I just feel like we're very close to the outdoors back here. There's no heat, no vents back here, so we use this a lot in the summer. I will actually open all the windows and sit here and read while my kids play. This was a really hard, awkward room to style, to decorate, because I just didn't know what to do with it. It's not huge, but this dresser, my infamous dresser, this was actually in the dining room, and I swapped the 2 dressers because I like that dark teal better than this one. But I got this from my in-laws. Actually own a lot of rental properties, and one of their tenants left this behind. And so they asked me just to come look at it. When I got there, I realized it was a Drexel Heritage dresser, vintage, worth a lot, good condition, except the top was really, really damaged, damaged beyond repair. So that's why I decided to paint it. And so I went with this color, and this kept my kids' toys for many, many years. So it's very chipped up and, well loved, I guess you could say. But it had their toys in it. It still has some toys, but most of this now is just all of my favorite magazines. I'm really big on magazines, and like I collected all the IKEA catalogs. I come here in the summer and I will just read while my kids are playing outside. I cozy up on here. Most of the time I have a blanket back here because it does get breezy and chilly even when it's hot. Because there's a lot of shade back here. But I will just bring snacks, a drink, and cuddle up on this chair and watch them play and just kind of hang out. This is kind of just turned into my own just random space. So there are some of my favorite things in here. This is one of my favorite art pieces. It's just from Wayfair. But the colors, I love the teal. I love this light purple, my little touches of pink in here. This just makes me happy to look at. Another favorite piece is this from Oliver Gal. They made this specially for me with my name on it when we partnered, and so this just is one of those things that makes me happy too. Down here I have this acrylic chest that I bought from Home Goods, and I actually had no idea what I was going to do with it. I thought I was going to fill it with a bunch of coffee table books, but it ended up filled with disco balls. And so in the evening, the sun comes in and hits literally right here, and this room lights up. So in the summer, you get like maybe 2 hours from 6 to 8 of just this glorious glow in here. And so you can find me in here almost every evening in the summer reading magazines or books about decor, maybe have a glass of wine, and it's It's my happy space. This is another one of my recent Facebook Marketplace finds. I got this just a couple months ago. I did a little research and found out that it's, I think it's called a California lamp, but they go for several $100s. So I didn't want to paint this because I originally planned to paint it, but I did paint the lampshade. The lampshade was just like a brown wicker. I spray painted it black and it just elevated this lamp, and it's one of my favorite things. I honestly would not have had it back here in the sunroom. I would have rather had it in my bedroom or entryway, but it's so huge. I don't even have anywhere for it to go. I do get to use the lamp a lot in the evenings. Since spring, I've been coming out here and I'll be out here all summer. So I have been turning on the lamp every evening, and I do have string lights behind this dresser that I illuminate with as well. And it's just like the coziest spot to hang out and watch my kids play all evening, run around. Another of my favorite things is this dragon. It's I don't want to say there's any special meaning because it's just from Home Goods, but growing up, my mother had a lot of Asian decor, and so I don't know if it's one of those things that's comfortable for me. It feels like home. It's just a happy thing, and I know dragons are good luck. So this dragon, my husband bought for me around Christmas. And my son, my youngest son, who's 5, accidentally broke it about a month later. And so I posted it on my Instagram to see if someone could find another one, because I went to almost every Home Goods in Northeast Ohio. My mother traveled to Pennsylvania and Michigan and couldn't find one. And I had so many people reach out that found one, that found them in their cities and states. I mean, Las Vegas, Louisiana, someone from New Jersey, and they were all offering to ship it to me. And so it was just like, it made me a little emotional because my followers are so sweet. But when I talked to one follower in particular, she said she found it at HomeSense. So I called the local HomeSense here, and sure enough, it was there, and I was able to go get it. So it's just funny because it just has a little backstory. And so my youngest son always talks about the broken dragon. So he's in here because he's safe, and my kids don't come in here a lot. But I do love to look at him. Entertaining is very important to us. We are very close with family, my side of the family as well as my husband's side of the family. Our parents are great friends, so we do a lot of parties here. Every birthday party that all 3 of my children have had since they turned 1 has been here. Baby showers, we do New Year's Eve every year, as well as just things throughout the year. But I love to entertain. I love having people over. I love when my kids have their friends over. It just feels good. Next, I'd like to show you my kitchen. So right off the dining room is the kitchen. There used to actually be a swinging door here that we removed just for the sake of little fingers. My kids like to run circles in this space from the living room to the kitchen. And so we didn't want fingers being caught. So we took the door off. We didn't make that many changes in here. When we moved in, everything was just kind of new. I know that the cabinets were the original cabinets, but they put on these just cheap new doors. For the sake of not wasting anything, I never really wanted to renovate in here, especially because I couldn't do what I would want to do in here. It's not large. So I do make best use of the space while still having my decor on the counters because it makes me happy. But all I did was paint the countertops. These were like a faux granite. And I added just a peel and stick backsplash for the time being. This isn't our forever home. I didn't want to put the money into trying to renovate in here. But I did get all new appliances, new faucet to just kind of elevate it, new handles on the cabinets, and I painted the bottom black, the top white. Over here, I added this wallpaper from Levette's Wallpaper. And this is a Kate Spade lamp that I actually got on Facebook Marketplace. I put a mirror on this wall just to kind of make the space bigger because this is not a large kitchen. These 2 prints are 2 of my favorite things. It's funny because they match the wallpaper in the eat-in part of the kitchen and the wallpaper here. So I cut these out of one of the books on my coffee table because not only are they gorgeous pieces of art, but I just couldn't get over the fact that it's the two wallpaper prints in my actual kitchen. This little area is the eat-in area. I've always wanted to do just like a banquette in here, or, you know, some type of breakfast nook. And before I was able to do that, I got this cabinet from Habitat for Humanity. I think I paid $35 for this cabinet, and I knew that I wanted it to be a pantry. I will show you in a minute where our pantry used to be. I turned that into just like a little seating area, and so this right now is probably very messy in there, but all of our snacks, canned goods, chips, all my husband's health stuff is all in there. I tinted these windows so you couldn't see it as well. I did have black paper on the inside as well, so you couldn't see it all, but I recently took it off, and I'll probably add it back. But there's a ton of storage in here, and just everything extra that I needed to store is in there. I added this table from Wayfair, and these benches are actually from Temu, and believe it or not, our whole family of 5 can fit in here and play games, hang out, talk. My kids eat breakfast here. It's my oldest son's favorite spot to do his homework. So I just put some fun art in here and a lamp just to make it cozy. Like I said, I'm a maximalist, so I wanted to fill this space as much as possible, as small as it is. These two pieces of art are two of my favorites. This is from a local artist in Cleveland, Glenn Infante. I hope I'm saying that right. The green, you know, I just had to have this. The pink, I love Tupac, I love Biggie, and the donuts. It just made sense for the kitchen. So this is one of my favorite spots. My curtains are literally just 84-inch velvet curtains that I flipped up over the rods that were already here, just the cheap white rods from like Walmart. The previous owner had them there, and so I just kind of flipped the curtains up like that because my mom used to do that when we were younger. So it's just one of those things that makes me feel good. I don't know if it's in style, and maybe one day I will get Roman shades, but I do love the look of the curtains just kind of flipped like that. I do plan to update the appliances probably again. I actually have some on back order, black appliances with gold handles. So I can't wait for that to arrive and kind of upgrade the space a little more. So this actually used to be the pantry. There was a door here. I did a horrible job of patching where the hinges were, but it's one of the earlier projects I did before I really knew what I was doing. But there were 5 shelves in here, and there's actually a laundry chute as well. And I couldn't stand the fact that this is our side entryway, and so you come in and you have nowhere to drop things. I have 3 kids with backpacks, shoes, so they can throw their shoes under there temporarily, hang their backpacks, hang bags, purses, whatever, sit here, put your shoes on, and then just storage. My husband always throws his stuff up there. But it just works so much better. What I love most about my home is, it's hard to say, but I think the fact that all 3 of my children came home from the hospital to this house. It's very sentimental for me. We are actually really growing out of this house as a family of 5, but I'm very attached because it's just where my children call home. It's all that they know. And we've made just the most amazing memories here. So it's more of just a feeling and a vibe that is my favorite thing about my home. I love every room, I love every corner, but it is just mainly the feeling that this is my kids' home and they love it just as much as I do. So next, I'd love to show you my bedroom. So this is my bedroom. These are actually IKEA dressers that I painted Wild Pansy by Bear. I bought these maybe 11, 12 years ago because I just needed extra storage. We do have 2 closets, but this is an old house. They are just, there's not a lot of storage in them. Even though they're rather large, there's just the smallest little space for you to hang clothes. So I got these for my husband and I. He has one, I have one. And then this kind of houses all of my extra clothes, small purses. A lot of my boots are in there. And I just spray painted the handles gold, which they're starting to chip, but this is one of my favorite projects. And I love that the TV is kind of over it, but there's still a lot going on the wall, so your focus isn't the TV. This is another one of my Facebook Marketplace finds, this desk. I love campaign anything. But I sit here, I do work here, and this little stool is just storage. Sometimes I'll do my makeup here in this little mirror. I'm not really into makeup a lot, so it doesn't take much, but this is one of my favorite little areas. My nightstands are also vintage Facebook Marketplace. These are Drexel Heritage. I added tassels. I don't keep much on here, just little carafe of water, books that I like to look through. Here, my bed. I picked these pillows just to match the IKEA dressers that I painted. This headboard is originally from Amazon. It's velvet. These I made with velvet and cardboard and just foam, just to add height. I really wanted a new bed, and I had only had this bed for maybe a couple years, so I felt guilty. So I just added those behind to kind of mimic the shape and add some height and drama to this wall. I love this wallpaper. You can't go wrong. It's classic. These lamps are also a Facebook Marketplace find. They were $25. I spray painted them and painted the lampshades. They're very old, so the lampshades are really starting to deteriorate, so I'm gonna have to replace them. But I added a necklace. I bought these necklaces on Amazon just to add something fun, something gold. Another one of my favorite pieces is the sofa. It's from IKEA. I purchased it and then they immediately discontinued this cover. It's the clip-in sofa. I searched the internet and I found another cover in Denmark and paid a ridiculous amount to get it here. And then I put the sofa in the sunroom at the time, not realizing that the sun would fade the entire top. So I searched the internet for months, found one more. I feel like it was like the last one on earth, and it was from someone in Canada. I bought it. It's on here. This is my last one. And so I'm hanging on to this as long as I can. So I did not intend to have a sofa at the end of my bed, but I didn't want this in an area where my kids would be on it all the time, or like eating, or guests with blue jeans. So we actually do sit here a lot and watch TV. I curl up here just like Saturday afternoon and read or sit on my phone. So it is one of my absolute favorite things. Another one of my favorite things, and this is another Facebook Marketplace find. This mirror is insane. I'm sure it weighs 300 or 400 pounds, but I got this mirror for $50 on Facebook Marketplace. I drove over an hour to go get it. Had no idea that it was this large or this heavy, but the purple is what drew me. I like to use different shades of purple in my bedroom. So we had to actually hire someone to get this hung, and it was very, very intense. We chipped a corner of it. This thing's not coming down. I don't know exactly how we're gonna get it out when we move. But it's definitely coming to every house with me, and I will probably keep this mirror forever. I've never seen anything like it. I wasn't able to find out exactly where it was from or who made it, but I think possibly it's an old Z Gallery mirror. But I just love the drama that it adds to the room, and it's just kind of tucked away, so in case it were to fall, it's not going to land on someone. But it is, I would say that is my absolute favorite Facebook Marketplace find. So just to kind of peek inside my closet, I did use the same wallpaper, but in a lavender. And my husband, I spray painted these old shoe racks. These are actually not meant to go on the wall, but he kind of rigged away and nailed them in the wall. But I just thought this was fun to have the same wallpaper, just in a different color. This is the entryway of my home. This is where all the guests come in, so I wanted this to be really impactful. Leading up to the stairs, this little entryway table, as well as this leads into my kitchen and down to another door. So all of these walls kind of match, I guess you could say. I wallpapered this to match the inside of the entryway, to match this, as well as a small seating area that's in my other hallway. So these curtains, I actually added this ribbon myself, just for an added flair. Like I mentioned before, I love anything black and white. Teal is my favorite color, so I added the ribbon with a double-sided tape. This is my fiddle leaf fig that I've been hanging on to for the last couple of years, keeping her alive. And I just like this little pop of greenery in front of the window. This entryway table is actually one of my Facebook Marketplace finds. I painted this vintage campaign dresser in this sapphire blue, and it actually holds all of my kids' shoes. So not all of them, their main shoes that they wear to school. Just to keep things out of the way, we have limited space. We have a small coat closet, and I just didn't want it overflowing with shoes. So each kid gets a drawer and they have their shoes in there. This is one of my favorite lamps. I actually broke it and kind of glued it back together just because I could not find another one, but it was all white. The lampshade was white, this was white. I spray painted this pink, and I used fabric paint on this shade and added a tassel. And I love the little pop of pink that matches all of my art on the gallery wall going up the stairs. This wall, it's actually funny. I've always had a mirror here because there's an actual alcove behind here that I wallpapered over, and our old thermostat, there's a little piece left from it, so I just like to kind of hide that. But I like the idea of having a mirror in the entryway. It just makes the space bigger and brighter, and I can check myself going in and out of the house. This is one of my favorite art pieces. This is, I believe the artist's name is Natalie O Decor, and I've had this for years. It's just, I love looking at it, but it's also strategically placed because it hides a little part of the alcove behind here. And then I just threw some books on here, shoes, of course, because my kids' shoes are in there, and these pieces are from Home Goods. And so this little ottoman is one of my favorite pieces as well. This is from At Home Stores quite a few years ago. My mom actually got it for me for my birthday. And it's just so that we can kind of sit here and put on our shoes or drop a purse, drop bags. It's just like a little landing spot, and it just adds some color and texture to this fun space. These are the original hardwood floors. They were in really good condition when we bought the house. This house is almost 85 years old, and hardwood floors and a fireplace were my two must-haves when we were looking. And so yes, every room except for the kitchen and sunroom has the original hardwood floors, and they're all in really good condition. Home means to me a place that you never want to leave. This is my place of comfort. This is my happy place. I'm a homebody. I don't care so much about traveling and vacation, but if I could just curl up in my pajamas on a rainy day and be home, that is the best feeling. Here with my family, watching our favorite shows or playing games, and we're all just hanging out, which we do a lot. That's the feeling of home for me. Homeworthy, it was so fun having you here in my home, but it's time to go.
Hi Homeworthy, my name is Gail, and welcome to my New York City apartment. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Gail Schulman, and I'm a photographer, and we are here in my New York City apartment. I've lived in many places in New York. When I first moved here, I lived on the Upper West Side. After that, I lived in Astoria, Queens for 2 years. And then after Astoria, I lived in Crown Heights, Brooklyn for 1 year. And then I've been in this neighborhood, which is the Upper East Side, for the past 3.5 years. And I found this apartment through StreetEasy, which is a great site if you're looking for an apartment here in New York, or like the general tri-state area. What pulled me to this apartment is I wanted more sunlight, and there is massive windows in this apartment. In my previous apartment, I had a room that was kind of a dungeon, which was a challenge. I think I did my best, but when I saw this apartment, I knew I wanted it because of the 3 windows in all the rooms and also this massive, beautiful brick fireplace, which is behind me. The square footage of this apartment, my current apartment, is 375 square feet, which to some might seem small, but it's actually 100 square feet larger than my previous apartment. So I thought, you know, I struck gold. So it wasn't too much of a challenge because I've worked with smaller spaces before. If anything, it gave me more room to play. So this is my favorite room of the apartment, and that's because it is so bright with the windows. I adore my area rug, which I'm embarrassed to say how many hours I searched online looking for the perfect area rug, and kind of in a panic, I ordered 2. One that was a very different style than this one. It was more like bohemian reds. And then I saw this on Etsy, and I pulled the trigger, and very happy with it. I feel like it really completes the space. So this is my sofa, one of my prized possessions, and that is because this is the first sofa I purchased on my own. And it's a proper size sofa, so people can sleep on it, which is key if you have people visiting your apartment. I just love the color. You know, it's, I think, like a velvety material, but not like too plasticky, if you know what I mean. It doesn't have that shine or that reflectiveness that cheap velvet can look like. But anyway, I'm kind of OCD a little bit. When I get up, I tend to wipe down my markings so that it looks nice and clean at all times. And then my sister got me this throw blanket for a housewarming gift, which has gone with me for 2 apartments, but luckily my color scheme usually tends to stay the same. And this piece of wall art, this has a whole fun story behind it. So when I was decorating my space within the first couple of months, I got my sofa, this lamp was in the corner. I knew I wanted like something really big, which obviously means big money if you want big art. So I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I was thinking about like getting a big canvas and like painting, because I also paint. But even the canvas of this size would cost like hundreds of dollars. So yeah, I was like walking to a bar one night in my neighborhood, and I saw this on the side of the road, like surrounded by trash. And I remember like walking by it, stopping and like looking at it. I thought the shape was very interesting, and I thought maybe it could work. Especially since the dimensions were exactly what I was looking for. Like, this thing is huge. So I said, if it's still there after the bar, I'm gonna carry it home. So now you have the visual of me carrying my entryway piece, and now the visual of me carrying this on the street. And this is heavy. This is solid wood. I think it must be like 25, 30 pounds. It probably sat in my kitchen for like a month until I finally mustered up the motivation to get the paint. So I cleaned it. I went to Benjamin Moore. I think the name of the color is Durango Dust, something like that. So I painted it, and then I hired a TaskRabbit to mount it on my wall. And I love it. I chose this color because I didn't want something like too bold, because the piece already is so bold itself. So yeah, it's just like a subtle statement, a subtle big statement. I love it. So I made like a whole YouTube video about when I found this piece, and one of my subscribers commented and helped me figure out what this actually was, because this was outside of a children's daycare. So I assumed it was like maybe part of a sandbox, or I don't know, some like kids, like a hole that kids can climb through. I have no idea. But it turns out that this was an Urban Outfitters mirror. So someone had this, and I guess like the mirrors must have shattered, but now it's my unique piece of art. So this floor lamp I got in Providence, Rhode Island from this amazing thrift store or secondhand store called Pop. I think my sister and I had gotten a few beers beforehand, so I was feeling, like a little spontaneous, let's just say that. And I did drive my Camry to Providence at the time, and I had my car in the city at the time. So I saw this lamp at the store, and it had been what I was like eyeing out for. I really like this almost like octopus arm type branching out lamp. I'm sure there's a proper term for it, which I'm totally butchering right now. But this is what I was looking for and I saw it. So I drove this back to New York from Providence, Rhode Island. And it's been with me in my past 3 apartments. And it's great. I feel like it really just creates a zone by kind of like literally carving out its own space. One thing though is that during my move, something happened with the wiring. So unfortunately, these 2 tallest branches don't turn on, but I'm sure I can just get an electrician to look at it eventually. Like the lamp, a lot of these pieces are secondhand or from Facebook Marketplace, from thrift stores, from estate sales. So this lamp, as I said, was from a secondhand store. This table, my coffee table, was from Facebook Marketplace. Same thing with these chairs. I got these from New Jersey. For, I kid you not, it was only $20 each. And they were in like perfect condition. I brought them home to my mom's house and I like spent an hour cleaning them and I love them. And they actually sat in my mom's basement for a year before I moved into this apartment where I could properly have them. And then same thing with my bookshelf. This was found on Facebook Marketplace as well. So a lot of secondhand, which is one, financially more approachable. And I think that furniture can live multiple lives. Like, I don't think people should feel the need to buy new all the time. A lot of things can have history and can be upcycled and still look stylish and clean. This is my media console. And as you can see, I display some of my records. I started collecting records about 10 years ago, give or take, maybe more. What inspired me to start a record collection was from this movie called Warm Bodies. And it's, if you haven't seen it, it's about like a zombie apocalypse, and it's about this Romeo and Juliet type story between like a human and a zombie. And there's this scene where he's in the airplane and he puts on a Bob, I think, yeah, it was a Bob Dylan record. Shelter from the Storm is the song that he put on. And I remember in that moment, like, she recognizes that he's kind of human and there's something in him that is like noteworthy and special. And obviously, like, Shelter from the Storm is such an incredible song, Bob Dylan, you know. And that kind of sparked my record collection. And here I am 10 years later. I have about, I recently counted, I must have like 200 records in this apartment, maybe 250. And then I have some in my mom's house in Jersey. But there's more in here. And I don't know, the great thing about vinyl is that it comes in these beautiful record cases. So when it came to like decorating my apartment, which I've done since I moved into New York, I bought these literally for my first New York City apartment, and they've come with me in every apartment that I lived in. I kind of display what's on current rotation, and currently I was just playing Paul Simon, but for the past 4 or 5 days, I've been exclusively listening to this Ella Fitzgerald album, which is Ella in Berlin. Like my furniture from everywhere, some of it's been handed down from my family. Like, I have my mom's records, I have my grandparents' records, I have records that I got in estate sales, you know, the dollar bin section. If I'm really excited about a record, I'll buy it new, which, you know, I don't do often because they can be like $35. I think like the process of putting on a record feels therapeutic in a way. It's something that you can enjoy and like physically just get the satisfaction from. So again, I have a bunch of knickknacks on my bookshelf. I love Lincoln Center. That's like the area that I lived in when I first moved to New York. So for Hanukkah this year, I asked my mom to get me, you know, dainty little binoculars, which I have yet to use, but I cannot wait. I need to go to the opera or go to the ballet soon just so I can pull out these bad boys. I also journal. I've been journaling for also over 10 years of my life. So this kind of like is my life story on my bookshelf, and my current journal is in the kitchen or in the dining room. But yeah, in front of the journal, I ran the New York City Marathon the past 2 years. So these are my prized medals, which is cool. I'm not running it this year, but I think I will run it one more time just because 3 feels like a good number. 2's good, but 3's better. So I keep that on display because obviously that's a big accomplishment. And then on the bottom shelf, I have one of my Polaroid cameras. I did mention that I am a photographer by trade, and I really love physical media, if you can't tell by my record collection and everything else. So I love Polaroids because you get that immediate satisfaction of having a printed moment that can't really be replicated by anything else. You know, we live in a digital world, but I think there's something to be said about analog. So this is one of my cameras. And I do keep, you know, my own personal photo albums of my friend and family. I think photo albums are also a lost art that more people should do. These trinkets have been acquired throughout the years. I have a collection of thimbles and a tiny cup from my friend Morgane. But yeah, Morgane also got me this little thimble from Greece. I got this little thimble in Israel. I got this thimble in Barcelona. And then this little thimble was always in my sister's bedroom growing up. And I kind of stole it from her bedroom, and it's been mine ever since. And it started the collection. And here's a picture of my siblings. I'm very close with my family, and my brother and my sisters. So they're on display as well. And what else? Oh, I got this mermaid from, what was it? It was like a boutique store on the Upper West Side. I think I got it 3 years ago. And then the tall man you see here was my grandpa's. And there's other figurines around the apartment that was his. Unfortunately, he didn't necessarily give it to me. After he passed, my family was like, everyone go into the house and like take some things that look special to you or you'd like. And that's one thing that I took. And this funky little plant, my friend Megan just recently moved to Baltimore, so I'm officially plant sitting this big guy, which I love because he's so spunky and I don't know, it just adds a little pop of character in the corner, which I didn't know I needed. Honestly, I put it up there and I was like, I don't know if that works. And then I woke up the next morning and I saw it in the corner and I was like, I love it. It's just like a firework of fun. So this is the prized possession of the apartment, which is the fireplace. I just think it adds like so much coziness and warmth to the room. I decided as soon as I moved in to get pillar candles to light. Obviously, this is not like a functioning fireplace. I wanted to emote the same type of coziness, hence the candles. But yeah, as you can see, this like mantle is kind of interesting because it is taller than most mantles that I've come across at least. So for a while, I had a mirror on top of the mantle, which I liked, but I didn't love because it didn't reflect anything back. Like I don't have some type of light fixture that it could reflect on. Rather, it reflected my beeping like fire detector, which is not a good mood, you know? So I found this wreath in Union Square Market. It's dried up now, but I really like how it looks. And again, all of my trinkets kind of have the same earth tone. I have this plant that in my previous apartment, someone put out a little sign saying free, I need a new home. This is his new home. This is another trinket that was my grandpa's. This woman, I have no idea where my grandpa got it from, but she's beautiful and I love her. And I only just realized that it must have broke at some point because it looks like my grandpa must have glued her back together. And then a little terrarium, so I have a mini tree. This is just, I have some shells in here because you never know when you need more shells, right? These books were also my grandparents'. They are over 100 years old. And I know for the sake of the spine, you're supposed to have them upright, but like, I just love how it looks. And I swear I take good care of them. So there's like, what is it? There's a guide to war. There's a Bible in here. There's a fairy tale, how Peter Rabbit went to the sea. Whatever, you know, whatever you're in the mood for, got you covered. And then these two I got from my best friend's wedding in the cute little town we were staying in. And yeah, these pillar candle holders, I got these from Brooklyn a couple years ago when I was living in Crown Heights. I think I've managed to make the most out of this tall mantle. And another thing that ended up being a blessing in disguise is that with the height, I was able to figure out my movie screening process. So it's not out right now, but if I'm ever in the mood to watch a movie or watch TV, which necessarily doesn't happen during the day, I tend to only watch TV at night, I will take it out from underneath my couch, which is where I store the screen. I will mount it right here, roll it down, and then I have a projector that I put on my coffee table, and I have a Bluetooth for sound. So that's how I watch my television. So when designing the apartment, I kind of had to figure out what my priorities were. I knew I wanted a living space where people can sit, like congregate and talk easily. And I also wanted to have a dining space because I like hosting, so I wanted to have a place where my friends and my family could sit and like, again, eat, talk, relax. And it's also where I work, so I needed like a tabletop for that. So the biggest challenge was really trying to figure out how to divide up this one room, because my living room, my foyer, and my dining space is all within one square box. Otherwise, I have a bedroom, which is a blessing. Not a lot of people have bedrooms in New York. And then I have a separate kitchen and bathroom, which is really nice. So yeah, that is the living room. I hope you find it cozy, because I do. And here is my dining room, dining nook, dining space, however you want to call it. As I mentioned before, when you're picking out furniture in small spaces, it's really important to figure out pieces that can serve two functions. One, the function of the piece of furniture, but also the function of storage. So here I have, well, my laptop is right here right now, which probably shouldn't be in there, but I have like an extra blanket. I have, random stuff that really doesn't have anywhere else to be. So it's in my bench. And I got these back panels off of Etsy because I wanted to create, like a nice seat that felt cohesive, that feels like a proper bench. And just having a bench like felt empty, like there would just be this negative space on the wall. And I see sometimes that people also use like pillows to create that zone, but I wanted something like a little more solid. So I used command strips to mount this on the wall. And it's funny, like I am a photographer, but there are no photos on my gallery wall. It's all paintings or illustration, and each has a story. I painted this in high school, which I was really proud of, and I remember my teacher, Mr. Dursey, after I finished, said, "Gail, like you are a painter," and he put it in his art show that year. So this painting is special to me. This was just found on Facebook Marketplace, I believe. This painting is a print from a museum I went to in Paris. For my 30th birthday, I learned how to surf, so I got this animation, or this design is from the Dominican Republic when I learned how to surf when I turned 30, which was really fun. My friend Emily gifted me that watercolor. And funny story, I could have sworn that the flower painting was painted by my aunt, but it turns out it's painted by my cousin, which she just told me like 2 months ago, because I post a lot of pictures of my apartment, and she was like, "Gail, where'd you get that from?" And it turns out that's her high school painting. And I did ask if she wants it back, and she said no, so I'm keeping it. And then at the very far end, that is a painting that I got when I was in Morocco from a street vendor. I just thought it was really pretty. I love the colors, and yeah, it's nice. I feel like there's hints of blue throughout the apartment, but it's not overt, and it kind of just stitches everything together. I feel like the blue in those paintings tie back to the blue of the area rug. And then I have my beautiful dining room table. A lot of these things are from Amazon. I really tried my hardest to find, this properly vintage, but they were very expensive. I think I found one chair for $800, and I was like, that is out of my budget. So this is a great alternative off of Amazon, well made, very comfortable. No, this is not sponsored by Amazon, but it's just a great piece. And then I always keep flowers in my apartment as well. I love tulips. Well, my favorite flower is ranunculus, but tulips is like a close second. So also for the dining room, I got a nice pendant light, and I really think this is the unsung hero of the corner. I think it really creates and solidifies the zone. Otherwise, it feels like the table would just be floating in the space, especially since the living room's right here, the foyer's right here. This light, tells you where you are, and you are in the dining room, you are about to eat, and yeah, I love it. Originally, I was thinking about doing a color, but there's so much going on that I thought just like a nice white, clean pendant light would be great. And then additionally, on the side of the fridge, again, if you live in a small space, you got to maximize every corner. I got these magnetic baskets, which kind of serves as my junk drawer. So I have pens, papers, wires, computer chargers, scissors, tape, mail, it all like lives in there. Otherwise, I really don't know where I'd put it. So it's great to use the magnetic features of your refrigerator, which we also do on the other side. And again, pothos plant, it's a great way to hide clutter and just add some greenery and some life and some airiness into a space that otherwise would feel a little crowded. So for my previous apartments, the first time I moved in, my first year in New York, I had 2 random roommates that I found on Facebook, and literally my room was a box. I had no closet. You opened the door and it led right into the kitchen, which we also kind of made a dining room. It was really small. And then I upgraded when I went to Astoria. I lived with my partner at the time. And then in Queens, I lived with 2 roommates. It was a railroad style. It was massive. It was really great, except it was not well maintained by management. So there was a lot of pests. And then the apartment before this was 270 square feet. And that was hard because it was good for just me. But I love hosting, and like it felt debilitating in a way to not be able to have people over comfortably, which is something that I love to do. Like, I'm a hoster. So this apartment kind of like puts together all of the great elements of all my previous apartments. So welcome to my kitchen. If you can believe it, this kitchen is way bigger than my previous kitchens, or at least the immediate previous kitchen. Yeah, it's great. I do cook, I think I cook more than the average New Yorker just because of budgetary reasons. You know, you can really spend a lot of money if you eat out every day. So I try not to do that, and I try to use my kitchen, but I could be better. There's always room for improvement. I recently upgraded the design of this kitchen, of this space. Before, it really was just like a blank white wall with like big bulky silver knobs. Recently, I added these 2 plants to the wall. I found these planters online. I think they're from like North Dakota, but it was like the closest thing that I can find to my vision. So I added that and some greenery. If you get the trend that's happening, I love plants, and I think they add so much life and character to a space without having to do anything at all. So I added those. And then these are peel and stick tiles that I also got off of Amazon. Originally, I was thinking maybe to do black and white, but I don't know. I feel like the green is just more approachable, a little less harsh. So I went with the peel and stick, which in itself adds, again, so much character. I feel like I didn't have to do too much after the fact, but I did, of course, because I like decorating. That's who I am. So the next thing I did was I changed out the hardware. Before, it was really bulky silver knobs. I found these brass, sleeker. It looks vintage. It's not vintage, but it looks vintage. I added this underlighting to the kitchen as well because I avoid turning on the overheads at all costs. It's just like harsh fluorescence that no one needs, unless if you're in a hospital or, you know, an office, not in a home. So I added that. And yeah, again, flowers. I like to add a little cozy space into every corner that I can. Because there are no windows in this corner of the apartment, you know, like light can spill in, but it's still rather dark in comparison. So I added a small mirror to reflect back the windows and just add, you know, a reflective pop of light where there is no light. Again, all of these pieces are thrifted. This little bowl, I think I got in Kansas. This brass vase I got just 2 months ago in New York. And chopping block, mirror from New Jersey. Yeah, I think all the pieces kind of create something that's nice and cozy. And another thing I did in the kitchen was put up this little curtain which hides the trash behind it. Otherwise, it's really just like a hole, and then you see like the trash bin, you see the recycling bin. I didn't really want to see that visual noise, visual clutter anymore. So I put this up, and it's really pretty. Although my recycling definitely piles up more so nowadays because I don't see it, which is an issue I need to address. That's like personal work I need to do. So that's all for the kitchen. I feel like it's still kind of a work in progress. I could do more, and I probably will, but I'm very happy with how it is right now. So moving on. My favorite aspect to this apartment is probably twofold. On a very basic level, it's nice and quiet in this apartment. I mean, sometimes you can hear like the cars and the sirens, but relatively I wake up and there's birds chirping, which is quite rare, I would think, in New York. And there's trees in my backyard. I'm like backyard facing, so I think that's a big plus, depending on what you're looking for, but the quiet's really nice. I would say that my favorite part of the apartment, I guess, has to be the fireplace. And it's funny because when I first came to this apartment, they showed me a different apartment in this building. It wasn't this one, and it didn't have a fireplace. And when we agreed and I submitted all my paperwork and they accepted me for the lease, I wanted to take one more look at the apartment before I signed. So I came and they must have messed up, or they sent someone else. And I walked into this apartment, which is very similar to the one that I had seen, but it did not include the fireplace. So I did not say a word, did not say a peep, and I signed that document and they handed me the keys. So this wasn't even my intention. It was just like a big surprise upon signing my lease. Welcome to my entryway foyer. Obviously, I didn't really have a proper foyer to work with, so I kind of manifested my own, or created my own here. I added two hooks so I added two hooks here so that I can put the coat that I'm wearing, and this is my baseball cap that has a slice of pizza on it because we're in New York. And right over here, I have like an entryway mirror so I can check the outfit before I head out into the world. And then this general key dish, which actually is one of many things in my apartment that came from my grandparents. And this is just kind of like a catch-all, my keys, and just like a trio of pretty knickknacks. So one thing that I recommend for anyone who lives in a small apartment is to pick out furniture where you can house all of your stuff, because there isn't a lot of space. Where I put my shoes is generally in these baskets right here. And then also in this cabinetry, which I found on the street, and I did carry this home. Someone helped me like up the stairs, but it was quite the sight seeing me carry this. I had a bruise on my leg for like a week as a battle wound. Anyway, so I have some nice dishware up here and more knickknacks, but if you open, I have more shoe storage, which is quite nice. And obviously I love color, if you can't tell. So that is like the entryway. And then I like adding pops of green throughout the apartment. So I decided to add like a draping pothos plant and this figurine that I found at a thrift store. And that's kind of like the whole entryway. Not a lot to see, but it's very functional and it does what it needs to do. The way I would describe my design style, I feel like a lot of people ask me this and I kind of have trouble answering it. I would say that it's eclectic, definitely has mid-century undertones, clean and organized, but colorful. Colorful in a sense that it's all kind of earth tones. I don't know, like there's a lot of colors going on, but everything feels muted in a way. And I would think harmonious. I like natural elements, so I like wood, I like metals, I don't know. I guess my design style, if I were to describe it in 3 words, it would be cozy, stylish, and grounding, maybe? You tell me, I don't know. Tell me what you think at the end of this video. What do you think it is? Because I don't know. So from the kitchen, we will now go to the bedroom. Welcome to the bedroom. Short walk, I know. I think in comparison to the living room and the dining room, I really wanted to keep the bedroom simple. With the bedroom, I tried to stay with like the pinks and the yellows and the beiges. I wanted to keep it airy and simple, just so like my mind can shut off before I go to bed. Very lucky to have another big window in the space, which really makes the room bright. I have this hopper painting above my bed, and then I just like layered some yellow pillows. Again, really simple. And, you know, part of me thinks I could do more, but I kind of like how tranquil it is in this corner. And some of the framed photographs that I have were also from my trip to Morocco. I just really like the vibe it gives off. At first I thought they could be like maybe seen as being slightly scary, but I think they're actually quite peaceful. Yeah. And then I have this pendant light that I also hung above my bed. For the first week after I hung it up, I was a little nervous that it was going to fall on me in the middle of my sleep, but it didn't. That thing is secure. Happy to report it has not budged. But again, just kind of relied on that painting for my color scheme. I think that's one of my hot takes. I think if you're having a hard time figuring out what color scheme you want to do for your home, you can like seek out inspiration to different paintings or different pieces of art that are out in the world, or even just like nature. And you can just like take note of the colors that they choose and like the harmony it creates. And then you can just like replicate that in your own way, in your own space. So I feel like I've done that where, you know, there's like a pop of yellow, there's reds. Now that I really think about it, I feel like that painting encompasses the color scheme of this room. And then also one more thing about the bed is that I have a taller bed frame because I store a lot underneath this bed. Another hot tip for small spaces or small apartments, get furniture that is tall so that you can store underneath. I have like 2 Christmas trees underneath there, if you could believe it. And then again, I went for a taller bedside table just to meet the height, and I try to keep 1 little tulip or 1 flower bedside for me. And yeah, again, I try not to turn on the overheads, so I got this floor lamp from an estate sale, and I've had it for many years now, probably 5 or 6 years. And it will not surprise you that this piece of furniture is also secondhand. I got it off of Facebook Marketplace, and bless that soul, he carried this up my 4 flights of stairs by himself. Well, he took out the drawers, but yeah, this was delivered and I love it. This is the first time I've had a dresser in a New York City apartment, and it's really a game changer because I can store so many of my clothes, my jeans, my shirts, my running gear. It all is in here, which is great. And I think it also has like some mid-century influence with the legs and the handles and the wood. I love it. I think this is going to stay with me for a long time. I can talk about every tiny little object in this apartment, but I will spare you from those details. This is a dish that has many pieces of jewelry throughout my life, throughout my travels, throughout my family. Same thing with these trinkets. You know, this is from Philadelphia, this is from London, this was a gift, this was also a gift. Everything has meaning behind it, including this little necklace that my old coworker Kathleen made for me, which was really nice. And yeah, this is a Picasso print that I got on Black Friday from a thrift store off of Route 22 in New Jersey. I didn't know at the time that it was Picasso, and it honestly wasn't until I was at, where was I? I was at the MoMA. Is it the MoMA or the Met? The MoMA or the Met in New York City, 2 museums. I walked into the room and I saw the real painting, which is like huge. I was like, oh, it's Picasso. So that's when I found out that it was a Picasso print. Anyway, yeah, so this is the dresser. Again, I didn't feel the need to hang it because I like how it looks as it sits on the dresser, and just trinkets, jewelry, little pieces of me. What this home has meant for me, it really has just been a place where I can carve out my peaceful little haven in the chaos of New York City. You know, you walk outside and there's a million people, there's so many sounds, there's so much going on. And then when I enter into this space, I don't have to like think about anything. I can just relax and do what I want to do, listen to my music, have my friends and family over, and kind of just enjoy the space that I've created for myself.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Shelby. Welcome to my home in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm so excited to show you around. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Shelby Eanes. I'm an interior designer in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm recently an avid DIYer, and I'm so excited to have you in my home. This home was built in the 70s. We lived in another home in the neighborhood, and we had always aspired to live on a golf course, but the homes were a little bit out of our reach, so we found one that needed just a little bit of TLC and we decided that we were gonna roll up our sleeves and start renovating a lot of it. So we took a lot of it down to its bones, and every room tells a story, so we love it so much, we've turned it into a space that's truly ours. So this was our second home renovation. The last home that we lived in, we kind of lived through it a little bit, and we cut some corners, and this one we decided we're gonna do it right. We're gonna go room by room, and we're going to love on every single space in the house. So in the beginning, we decided we wanted to tackle it room by room. We did hire a contractor in the beginning to help us with the heavy lifting, and then when we had some mounting bills in this money pit, we decided that I was going to DIY as much as I could. So that's what I'm excited to show you today. It's a mixture of some help when things got a little big and some things that we can do on our own. Okay, welcome to the foyer of our home. In the entry, I wanted this to be your first impression of our space. So in here, I focused on some big picture things, like I wanted to have a detail on the ceiling. The floors, we kept existing to remain with some nice old stone. And then I added a lot of little details, but I think that when people enter your home, it kind of tells them a lot about yourself. So let's get into it. So this mural is a huge focal point of the room. This is traditional wallpaper. So I hung all of these panels, I pasted it to the wall. It is not peel and stick, but I really wanted something that was biophilic. It really brought the nature outside inside, and you see a really nice landscape here, and it's a nice warm piece. Didn't want anything to feel sterile, so it's a beautiful backdrop to all the other colors. Make it feel a little bit moody as you enter. So after the wallpaper, I literally woke up one morning and my husband gets scared when I have these dreams, and I decided I wanted to do trellis that's traditionally used outside on the ceiling. So this is a regular trellis board. I actually hand painted it and I regretted every second of it. I highly recommend a paint sprayer. But I took the trellis pieces, I painted them, and then I installed them on the ceiling. This is where my husband said, "Oh no, what have you done now? Because you definitely need two hands with this." But I really feel like the fifth wall is something that should never be forgotten. So I have a trellis here, I have wallpaper in some other areas, but to me, it's just an element of surprise that you don't expect to see. And although it is controversial, not everybody likes it, it's my home and I'm so proud of it. This dresser I got from an antique store down the road. It was imported from India, and I like really unique pieces. Some things are really great to buy online, but this just had so much detail from all the iron hardware. There's a little bit of glass in there, so it's a mixture of storage for me. Some of our vintage heirloom pieces from my grandmother are in there, both sets of grandparents actually, so it's really special that it tells a story below. And then the way that I styled it, I like to mix different heights. So I have the lamp over here, and then I mix in little things. This is actually just an inspiration book that kind of relates to my style of some home interiors. I don't go crazy with family photos, but I have a little one of the family here, a little mirror to help reflect what's happening in the next room, and then a nice piece of artwork and some other little pieces. Just the variance of height is really important when you're styling the top of a credenza. It's important to not get too busy with it, and I think it's kind of the perfect mix. Welcome to our library/sitting room. I wanted this room to emulate the feeling of the foyer a lot. So it's very cozy, very warm. Again, the fifth wall is a big element that I will repeat throughout this home. It's something to not be forgotten. So I did wallpaper here. I did this traditional wallpaper as well, all by myself. There was a funny moment where I had a really big panel and I had to scream for my husband because it all started falling down on top of me. But I love the adventures of DIY. It's all lots of fun. So I kept this biophilic as well. There's some florals on the ceiling, kept it all brown. And then my favorite color is green. So you'll see that repeated in our home. I most recently added these bookcases because I really wanted it to tell a story with some personal touch. This space, it started out as a dining room and it worked great 3 or 4 times a year. We do host a lot of holidays here with the family, which I love doing, but I wanted it to be used throughout the year. So I had a love seat in here and 2 chairs, and I actually most recently added 4 swivel chairs. They are functional that you can kind of swivel and turn around so you're not stuck in one direction. It becomes a really nice conversation area. I do play checkers with the kids in here. We have a lot of fun, and this is just a really nice area where everybody can congregate. I feel like the chairs are not as confining as a love seat. So it's been a really great space for us, and it's functional all year round. When we look down at the floor, I do have a very unique triple layered rug in here. So the base of the floor is wood flooring throughout the home. I actually used carpet tiles as an area rug. I love carpet tiles by Floor. They're fantastic for residential use with commercial grade performance. And then I used traditional rolled rugs here. So this is just a regular budget conscious rug beneath. And then this actually is a nice old Turkish rug on top of here. So it has a lot of character, a lot of history there. It brings in a lot of color. I think without that rug, this room could have felt a little bit sad. It brings in some life into the room. So don't be afraid to double and triple layer a rug. Okay, so this light fixture, I wanted to go with something refined and elegant in here, but not too stuffy. So there's an element of playfulness with the color. It's actually coordinating with my dress today. I love the brass on the chandelier that's actually continued on the inside. So when it's illuminated, it really glows beautifully. And then I added the trim piece on the ceiling. It might be covering up an imperfection for wallpaper, but nobody has to know that, right? Until I say it. The trim piece is really just a fun added touch up there, a beautiful medallion that you could add on any fixture. Okay, so for the curtains, I mixed different patterns. So I wanted to go with something a little bit more bold and crosshatched on the outside, and then with the theme of layering, I went with something a little bit more neutral on the inside. These are blackout here, and then on the top, it's just a nice fun pattern. So the layering is something that's really important. I love also the pleated drapes right there, really nice texture. Don't forget about texture and layering room by room. It's very important. It makes a huge difference. Okay, so for the bookshelves, I did press the easy button. I decided not to build these. I wanted to purchase them. They are super budget conscious, but they look really elegant and refined. They look really high-end to me. So they are glass. What I did is I mixed a variety of photo albums. I do still print photos. I think it's very important to print photos. I also framed a lot of photos. So there's a mixture of personal touch and then some other special pieces that have a history to me, and also some artwork that I mixed in. When you're styling a bookshelf, it's really important to mix a variance of height. I know it can be really overwhelming. I say bring all of this stuff in your room and just have fun with it. You really can't go wrong. If it's something that speaks to you and you love it, there's no right or wrong answer as long as it's something that you enjoy. So in the corner of this room, I didn't want to leave it boring. I still wanted to keep it fun. I don't think you can have too many pieces of artwork or photos on a wall. In this area, I just kind of created my own gallery wall. Very budget conscious. This is sold at major retail stores, so some of you might recognize it. The theme in my house is really a mixture of cost averaging. I like to splurge on certain things, but then I don't think it's a bad idea to cut back on things and save a budget. You would never know the cost of some of these, but it really pulls the corner together nicely. And I have a space that we could set coffee or tea on, store books, and then we also have some ottomans if anybody needs to kick back. Okay, so from the sitting room, we'll go into the living room, which is the main entry. As you come off of the foyer, you enter into a large living space. My home style, it's hard to put your finger on it. I'm definitely an eclectic mix, and I like to think of myself as embracing vintage vibes. I try not to follow fleeting trends because they come and they go so quickly. So I tell people, if you love something, make it work. A cookie cutter home is not something that everybody enjoys. You have to have character in it and you have to really love your space. And I love when rooms tell a story. I think back to my memories when I was younger, and every memory actually relates back to a room. My grandmother's room, for instance, I remember every detail of her living room, and I hope that my children will remember that one day as well. Okay, welcome to the living room. So this space is the heart of our home. This is where we spend the most time. Funny story though about the fireplace behind me. When we bought this home, we were told that it was in good working condition, and come to find out, it was not. So for 5 of the 6 years we've lived in the house, it has not worked until this past winter when I decided enough was enough. And it does finally work now. It's not only beautiful, but it is functional. It was a dark stone This was a controversial topic as well, painting stone. I did paint this by myself, but I love natural stone. For our home, it felt very dark and heavy. So the white in here was more of a natural element for us. It allowed the mantle here to pop. And then again, with the layering, I love layering things in the house. We have the mirror and the artwork, and then this vintage fireplace screen. I just couldn't find myself to purchase any from the major stores. I wanted something that had character and really told a story, brought those vintage vibes in here. So we love that this is the focal point right when you enter the room, our beautiful fireplace. Okay, so I'll talk you through how we landed on the layout of our living room. It is a little bit unique. So over here, when we moved in, we have a wet bar. And my husband really wanted to get rid of it because it threw off the balance of the space. And I said, there's no way I'm letting you get rid of the wet bar. We have to keep that, and I'll figure out how to balance everything else. So that is kind of how the shelving unit came to be, the entertainment center, the TV. You know, we watch a lot of sports and things on there, so it had to stay in the living room. And then we really made all of the seating choices around that. I also love to sit here in the corner, a nice armchair, relax there in the corner right by my wet bar that I'm so glad I kept. And then I balanced a couple ottomans on the fireplace just for extra seating when we have guests come over. I feel like you can never have enough options for your guests. So in order to balance everything, I had to get an extra large coffee table. And I wanted something that wasn't just a big wood coffee table. I wanted it to be unique. So it's actually leather with a metal frame. And I have a lot of things happening on the table. There's a mixture of a lot of design books on there. Here, we store all of our electronics, so all of the remotes are out of sight there. And then I mixed in a lot of other elements of design with some fun pieces. And the seating here, so we've actually had these sofas for a really long time. They were in such great condition that I couldn't bring myself to get rid of them. But raising young children, they seemed a little worn. So we had them reupholstered, and they're great. It's been a second life for them. I think that goes to show that when you invest in something worthwhile, it can transcend time for you, and the investment is worth it. Behind there, this is where I did bring in some photos of the family. I do have a little bit of family portraits in a gallery wall there. The biggest thing in this room, actually, when we first moved in, there were columns all behind me. So they were Corinthian columns. They were very ornate. It was not me at all. There was a wall right here behind me too, and the living room was sunken. So we knew that just to avoid trip hazards with aging parents, we had really young toddlers at the time, we couldn't have a sunken living room in here. So we raised the floor actually and made it one level space, and that changed everything in here. However, when you raise the floor, it affects the fireplace, the doors, the windows, electrical outlet heights, everything. I do think it was worth it though. We're so happy that we did that. So we have a massive rug on the floor, which is really hard to find and source. It also gets very expensive if you can even find that it exists. So what we did, similar to the sitting room, is I used carpet tiles in here. You can't even tell. This feels like a vintage Turkish rug, but it's actually individual 18 by 18 carpet tiles, and they just float on top of the hardwood floor, so it's fantastic. We have kids and animals. Spills happen on this floor, and it's held up extremely well. Lots of designs to choose from, but I really liked the deep red tones of this one. So the beauty of modular is that it really can span the space of any room. You don't have to be confined to a bound rug size. And then right above the bound rug, we have this really oversized chandelier. So this took me a long time to find. Unfortunately, in residential, a lot of light fixtures are not spaced accurately. They're very tiny for rooms. So I say the bigger the better, because it makes your space feel smaller and forgotten when you have a lot of blank space around it. This one is really, really big, and I love that it takes up a lot more space. It also gives up a lot more light if you like the big light ahead of you, but we also dim it so we don't have too much big light above us. But big chandelier, big rug, we love it all. So adjacent to our living room is a really beautiful patio. Let's go and check it out. Okay, welcome to our patio. So we made this a covered screen porch. When we first moved into the home, it was always a really long deck. We knew it needed to be replaced. We gave ourselves about 5 years, but about 2 years in, we realized it was a safety hazard with really young children. The railings were a little shaky, the floorboards were rotting. So we expedited this project right in the middle of COVID when all of the lumber costs went up. So actually at the time, composite flooring was more affordable than wood flooring. So we opted for a long-term approach, which I have zero regrets with. We did composite flooring throughout, and we kept pretty much the size and length of it, but where I'm standing right now, we did build it out a little bit so we could have more space for a living area. We spend so much of our time out here. In phase 2, we added the ceiling and screens. I have a view of the golf course to the left of me right now, so it's so nice that it's very peaceful and serene out here. I honestly feel like I'm in a tree house surrounded by all of the greenery, and without the frustration of the bugs, we spend a lot of time out here. So when we tackled this in 2 phases, the first one was just build a deck. We just needed a nice, safe deck. A year later, when we added the roof, we decided, go big or go home. We would regret not having a fireplace, and I'm so happy that we did it. Especially come football season, you can find my husband here watching his favorite sports team, relaxing by the fire. One unique feature of our fireplace, obviously it's a wood-burning fireplace, so we have to have the wood for it, but I didn't want messy wood everywhere. So Organized Me had to figure out how we were gonna build a niche in the side of it. So we actually have one on each side. We store all of our wood here. So it's really, it's not only functional, but it's beautiful. So it's actually, I think, a piece of artwork on the side, and then we just grab it and put it in the fireplace whenever we need it. We really wanted to maximize all the seating. Like I said, we love hosting. We do like a big 4th of July party every year. This is a great space for everybody to congregate. You've got 4 swivel chairs, and then I have a really nice sofa and some extra ottomans because we really can pack a lot of people into this space. We wanted it to feel large. I'm not a huge ceiling fan person. This is the only room in the house that you will actually find a fan. It's a bone of contention with myself and my husband, but out here it made sense. Function was paramount. So we have the fan and light combo and then some other seating areas grouped. Over here, we also have a little dining area. So if we want to have dinner out here or when we have guests over and it's getting a little tight indoors, you can escape out here, listen to the birds chirp, watch some TV, lots of options. So a lot of outdoor patio sets, they really feel like you're outdoors. Clearly we're outdoors, but I really wanted it to have cozy vibes too. So this big egg chair is such a nice space where you can just kick back, relax. My kids love to sit there. And then I incorporated a lot of other textures. So while these are actually traditional outdoor pillows, they don't look like it. They don't have that kind of cheap vinyl feel to it. They're very textured. I'd say focus on texture everywhere. I mixed pattern and texture in the floor, texture in the ottomans, and then I kind of kept a color theme of my favorite color, green, but I mixed in different hues of it. It doesn't scream green, but it's different values of green. And I think that's really how I made it feel a little bit more like home here. This is an extension of the living room instead of just the outdoors. Okay, so stepping outside of the covered patio, we have our view of the golf course. This was the selling feature of the home. While we're not avid golfers, the way we looked at it is that we always know this neighbor is going to take care of their property. So it's a beautiful space. I'll tell you, those golfers, they golf every day of the year. It's fascinating. But it's a really beautiful backdrop. And this is a really nice area where, we have no screens. We're just really out in nature. I loved this umbrella because it kind of just has like the scalloped edges, all the details over here. But it's a really nice space if we want to step outside and get outside of the screens. Okay, so I'll let you in on a little behind the scenes. I am working on one day building our dream pool behind me. Unfortunately, in some of the flat areas of the yard, we have a lot of plumbing that converges there. But right here, I am picturing an outdoor oasis with a pool. Help me talk my husband into it. I need to make it happen. This would just be the perfect area where you're entertaining and everybody can really kick back and relax behind you. I'm gonna make a pool happen. My background is in interior design. I was raised in the trading spaces era. And I fell in love with, a peek behind the curtains. Everybody wonders, what does their home look like? What are they doing? And I loved the concept of the neighbors helping each other's homes. And I just loved watching their creativity shine in different houses. So I knew that I really wanted to do something like that, and interior design became a passion of mine. I started in my own home. My mom let me go rogue and paint my entire room a very bright yellow that they actually still have to this day. I need to help them repaint that. And so I decided that I was gonna study interior design, and I got my Bachelor's of Science degree. I practiced for 7 years in Atlanta at a major firm, and I did a combination of architecture and design for tenant improvement. And as I started to raise a family, I realized my passion and I wanted to challenge myself outside of that realm. So I started kind of looking into residential and then focusing on my own home. But interior design was kind of always a passion of mine later in my teens. All right, welcome to my kitchen, where I actually do not know my way around here at all, but I can design a pretty one. So my husband is the cook. I benefit from all of his talents, but when we first moved into this space, it was really dark. They had very heavy wood in here, dark wood, and they had cabinets right here. We actually kind of followed the same layout of the cabinetry. Not to make things too complicated, we kept the peninsula how it was, but of course I lightened things up. So I created a custom hood over here. So we added that right above the stove, and then we lightened up the cabinets. And instead of cabinets over on this wall, I ended up doing open shelves. I know that some people can be really nervous about open shelves. Believe me, I have clutter behind closed doors with all of the kids' cups, but this is where we keep kind of the daily grab and go essentials. I used mason jars for our cups, and then I just have some nice white plates and bowls, and then some other decorative pieces that we also use when we're hosting. And I kept it nice over here with a little pot rack. Just wanted to add an element of fun with some different pots that we use and incorporate a little bit of the brass. So the lighting in here, I actually just swapped out. We had some pendants that were clear for a long time. They served a purpose for us for several years. But with my vintage theme, I really liked these because they were super unique. I like all the detailing on it, and I loved that you couldn't actually see the light bulb in it. So that was important to me. I felt like when it was a clear fixture, it started to kind of blind some of our guests. So this is a much better solution. I feel like it really fits with the space. It's different and unique. The way that I think of lighting is that it's actually an art piece. So I would suggest not forgetting about lighting. It's a very important element. Okay, so you'll notice that I have replicated some fun art in here. I have a little pop of oranges on the artwork in this area. And then over here, I did actually put some artwork on our stone. So this is a marble backsplash. It is in the brick layout and it is beveled. So it has like a nice texture and depth to it. So right here, I actually just used some peel and stick command strips, and they are holding exceptionally well. So I wanted to pop some artwork on here instead of just keeping it plain. And then I did the same idea right behind the stove here. We do get a few things splashed up there, but it wipes off quite easily. Again, instead of just keeping it kind of bland and boring behind us, I wanted to add a little bit of color and character. Okay, so we loved in our older home that we had a really nice big island. In here, unfortunately, due to the confined space, we had to go with a peninsula layout, which ends up working fine. I have these rattan bar stools that are right next to it. It's actually countertop height stools. Be careful when you're looking at countertop versus bar height. They are very different. But I love these. They're super comfortable, very durable with younger kids and a lot of guests that we have over. Behind here, kind of under the peninsula area, we added beadboard instead of just a plain drywall. It wipes down really easily, more texture again. So I think this really brings the whole space together. Although I don't cook, I sit right here and I support my husband, and then I eat all of his delicious meals. Okay, so adjacent to kind of the kitchen and bar area over there, we have, this is our kind of everything table. So I like that it's round because round can accommodate more people. We've pulled up many more chairs to this table. We have a lot of holidays here. So the round has been very conducive for what we need. And then I kind of kept with the fun rattan wood idea here for the fixture. This is actually something that I thrifted. And again, the element of fun and surprise with a light fixture is just important in every space. So we love sitting here and having all of our meals together. All right, and from the kitchen, we'll head on to our powder room. This actually might be my favorite room. We've been in this house for 6 years, and since it needed a lot of love, our friends kept asking us, what's the latest project? What does it look like? We want to see the before and afters. I would text everybody individually and start to share our story. And then I decided I was going to start a private page so I could just invite some of our close friends and relatives to check it out and stay in touch real time. That started to turn into a public page, and from there I did a green bathroom renovation and I color drenched the whole thing, and that's when my DIY and design really took off. I think that's what boosted my confidence to show me that I really can do something when I set my mind to it and just jump in and do it scared. The do it scared mindset started when we had a major plumbing catastrophe in the basement. We started replacing all of the cast iron pipes in this 70s home, but the ones that we forgot to replace were beneath the slab. So one day we went down in the basement and there was water everywhere and we couldn't understand where it was coming from. We had recently had termites, and so I quickly realized that they were thriving under the soil of our home and we had a major problem on our hands. So as we were tens of thousands of dollars into the renovation of that, I realized that in order to make the basement look like what I wanted it to once it was put back together, I really had to roll up my sleeves and truly do it scared. I had never owned a power tool before. I had never built cabinetry. I had never done half the things that I do now. And it really just allowed me to express my creativity, take my time with it. It did take about a year. Rome wasn't built in a day, and I think that's been the hardest thing about owning an older home, is that it really truly does take time. I think as a creative, I have the vision from the beginning and I'm eager to jump right into it. But when the budget doesn't permit, you kind of have to just go slowly. So doing it scared has allowed me to save money, do it on my own, and really be proud of it when I walk back into the room. All right, welcome to our powder room. I go back and forth between the sitting room and the powder room being my most favorite spaces in the home. This actually is a very special room to me because it really sparked my desire for creativity. I decided on a whim I wanted to color drench my favorite color green, but I wanted to do it in a very unique way. This was the very first ever DIY project I ever tackled on my own. It reached over 40 million people, so it went crazy viral, and it really encouraged me to keep going. It's another reason why I just think doing it scared can really pay off if you take big risks. So behind me here, this actually looks like a tile wall, but it is peel and stick. I know that peel and stick can have a negative connotation, but I love the Smart Tiles brand because it's textured. This is just a powder room, so we don't have any moisture or mildew concerns, but it works great with that if you have it. Behind me here, this looks like a wallpaper. It's actually a stencil. Don't let anybody lie to you if they say a stencil is easy. This was quite hard, but it did pay off. My plan was to do all 4 walls, but after I finished this, I decided that it was a really great focal point, so I stopped there. In order to separate the two, I just added a piece of wood trim here, and I painted it the same color. I matched as close as possible the green paint to the peel and stick, and then I continued it on the ceiling for a really color-drenched aesthetic. And I think this is such a fun room because it's really unexpected. So when we have guests come over, they're really surprised when they come to use the restroom, but I love that. I love walking into a space that I didn't expect to feel a certain way in it, and that's probably why it's my favorite room. So the flooring decision actually came after more cast iron woes in the house. In the laundry room across the hall, we had our cast iron pipes back up on us, and it flooded this area of the home. So when we decided to rip out the builder grade ceramic tile, I knew I wanted to go back with something that felt really historic and was going to be super durable long term. So brick was our solution. It's actually a brick paver though, so it's really thin, and we ran this one in a herringbone on an angle. So it's super fun. It brings that element of texture and surprise into the space and a lot of warmth. So behind me here, I'd say the peel and stick is controversial, but also the bench. Every time I share this space, people say, why is there a couch in your powder room? I don't think this is a couch. This is actually a bench, but the decision came for a variety of reasons. It's a very large powder room. I don't know why it is so large. I would love to have more pantry space next to me, but since those weren't the cards I was dealt, I decided that I was going to add a piece of furniture in here, but I wanted it to be functional because the phase of life that we're in, we have a lot of friends and family that come over that have little ones. And if you're a parent, you know that when you're in the restroom with your kids, you have to be able to help them. Your hands are full, you have to put things down. So this bench is a multi-purpose solution and I love it. Okay, so this vanity is actually something that we inherited with the home. My husband hated it, he wanted to get rid of it, but I could not let this go. It has so much character. It feels like a vintage find that I found while I was thrifting, but it actually was already a gift to me with the home. It did have kind of a cheap countertop with it. So what I did is that I measured out the marble myself and I went to a quarry yard and I picked out a remnant piece. It's very important to look for remnant pieces because they can save you a lot of money. So we just created a unique scalloped edge here and it feels like it was always meant to be here with the vanity. So moving from the vanity, I have a really nice brass fixture. It kind of has those older vintage knobs. I really wanted this piece to feel like it was here all along, even though it was put together differently. Behind me, I have a ladder over here. A lot of people wonder why I used a ladder, but again, it's multi-purpose. So this is where we hang all of our washcloths, and I love the ladder. I think it's beautiful. It brings height to this space. And then the light fixtures over here are kind of a replication of what we did in the sitting room, but it's just a different color and it hides the bulb filament, but it also brings in a little bit of the brass. Okay, so that wraps up the powder room. Let's head down to the basement now. All right, welcome to the basement. This is probably our biggest and most recent project. This was very white. There was actually faux painting on the soffit here and a glass block wall behind me. The previous homeowners used this as kind of a partial bedroom, kind of a mother-in-law space. There was a little bit of an odd kitchen here that was super dated with a stove and everything, and then a really obnoxious column in a bad spot in the basement. So we decided to reimagine all of it, and I decided that I wanted it to feel a lot different than the rest of the space. This is our speakeasy basement. So when you come down here, it's very unexpected. It's very dark. It's very moody. Think hotel bar vibes is what I was going for. So we started with the flooring. We had some of the flooring that was here originally, and luckily it is a vinyl that we could just extend after the slab was put back together. And then above me, again, the fifth wall, is that I did a really big mural on the ceiling. I did have help installing this one because these are 12 foot high. This is really open to interpretation. It could be squiggles on the ceiling. To me, I feel like it's another biophilic approach where you have the vines of outdoors inside. Whatever you think it might be, it's a conversation piece, which is what I was after. And then the lighting here behind me, I wanted something again that was unexpected and unique. We have the brass touches in here, and these are actually adjustable and the whole fixture is dimmable. So it's the same length as the table. One day we might have a pool table here or something of that sort. I wanted it to be longer so it could be functional with the space. And the vibe that I wanted was not only for it to be speakeasy, but also to appeal to all ages. I have a preteen and a younger child, and as they bring their friends over and we have adults here, not only do I want a bar over there, but I really wanted this more to be a game room for everybody. So I actually found this table from a church. They were getting rid of the table, and it's such a great space that we can all have a lot of fun, play a little friendly competitive game, and it allows the kids to have a good time as well. Behind this shuffleboard table, which is a big hit in our house, I have this custom piece of artwork. Most of the artwork in our house is very budget conscious, but there are two pieces in this basement by the same artist, Nathan Yoakum, and he is phenomenal. So he put together this unique piece for us. This was actually a surprise to my very patient husband. This renovation was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of long hours in here, and he really let me allow my imagination to run wild. So a thank you to him was that I had Nathan put together a custom piece of art for us. So it kind of talks about a little bit of the butterfly effect in a hummingbird vibe. So ever since we first met, he has always called me his hummingbird. So I have the hummingbird replicated on the page with a strong hummingbird in the front, outlined in pink. And it also not only is an emotional story for us, it's very special to us, but it kind of shows that you should really stand out and not let yourself blend in. So the artwork takes on a lot of different meanings, but I wanted something really unique and bold with the pink outline. Okay, so as we head over to the bar area, I want to talk about the drapery first. So these are really dark chocolate brown velvet blackout curtains. So I really wanted this space to again feel moody, even during the daytime or the nighttime. So when all the lights are off, it is completely pitch black in here. So it also is like a multi-purpose movie room. My kids have had a sleepover in here. I did a really big birthday party for my daughter, a Taylor Swift themed sleepover with tents. And it was really fun because we closed all the curtains. The girls had a great time. And it's just the really nice heavy texture and the softness of the velvet that's just perfect. Now we'll head over to the bar area. This is probably my husband's favorite part. He did have a say-so in this in the basement. I did not DIY this. I did have Eberhard Woods help me with this. They did a fantastic job with surface providers, did the countertops. I thought I wanted to do like a really unique marble, but as that got a little bit out of my budget, we found a really unique granite. That's really beautiful. It has a lot of nice movement in it. And then the millwork was custom, so we were able to select everything. I did a white oak. Again, I replicated the brass details. These are actually poles for appliances. And so I took the appliance poles and I just wanted something really long and tall on the custom cabinets. But he did not skip a beat with the details. We have a lovely cornice detail at the top. We have all these really pretty knobs. There's so much detail in all of the drawers. It just came together so beautifully. And since we couldn't get our island upstairs, I said, I want to go big 10-foot island in the basement. So that's exactly what we did. We're pretty limited on storage in this older home, so we maximized all the cabinet space beneath it and behind me. And then we have, of course, all of the liquor options here with drinks. There is a lock for my children, so they can't get away with anything. And a super big bar sink. I feel like a lot of bar sinks are so tiny, and we probably went a little big. You could take a bath in here with a little baby, but I love that it's super large. You can wash dishes in here, do a lot of different things. One unique thing that we did with the countertop is that I ran it up the wall, and then I actually have a little ledge here. So sometimes if you're preparing things, you can put the salt and pepper up here or a little mixer. And a really fun DIY, this was my first tiling. I used Zalige tile from Ryad. And this is a really cool tile. It was easy to cut, it's groutless, and I love how it looks. It has a lot of dimension and depth to it. No two tiles are the same, and I think that's the beauty of it. Okay, so I'm a big Shades of Light fan, and this is a really beautiful piece from the Chris Loves Julia line. It is gorgeous. It's slimline. I didn't want it to impede your line of sight. They have a lot of different color options. I kept it a little bit darker, and I love that you can see the decorative bulb here. Above me, I actually swapped out the ceiling. So unfortunately, we couldn't drywall here. We have a lot of plumbing above it. So to save the budget, I decided to compromise. I have standard acoustical ceiling to the right of me, but above me here, I went with architectural panels. They do not have any acoustical details, so it was important to mix both of them. But this is such a really beautiful element with all the texture, the definition of the ceiling. It's another element of surprise that's just something really unique. There's a lot of different styles out there, but I decided to keep it with the square, and I love how it turned out. Coming over from the bar area, we have a nice lounge seating area. So I went with a really oversized sectional from Homebody. The beauty of this is that not only is it comfortable, but it completely reclines and it has chargers within the sofa. So it is absolutely perfect. It's so durable too. I wanted this to be a space where the kids could use and abuse it. If you spill something, it's gonna come right out. You could take it off and actually wash it. So this is a really great seating area. Okay, so in the corner of this seating area, we have a really big entertainment center. This was my first stab at building something really large that had to do with cabinetry and millwork. I used prefab cabinets, but prefab, there's still a lot of work to be done. You have to adhere them together, paint them, add hardware, lots of steps. I added a countertop to it, and then I think the most important element is that I added a soffit, so it really brings everything together. I used some prefab big pieces on each end to flank it, and then adding the top piece was really important. I feel like it just really stabilizes this area, draws your eyes to the center where we all congregate to watch maybe a sports game or something big on TV. Probably my most favorite part of the basement though is this hidden reading or napping nook in the corner. This is a really great space. It was a closet and I actually completely transformed it. I added prefab cabinets on the bottom, a custom cushion on top so we could all just kind of lay there and chill out. And then I built some shelves in the corner and added lots of pillows to make it super comfortable. So this space, it really achieves a lot of different functions, but it's just really an extra extension of our home, and it's a really fun place to be with all the moody speakeasy vibes. Okay, so the last part of the basement is going to be the bathroom behind me. This is another piece of artwork from Nathan Yoakum. It's beautiful. It was a really special gift. And in here is a bathroom. This was actually ground zero for where all the plumbing and termite catastrophes started. It was set up completely different. So we actually had a toilet right as you walked in, the shower next to it, and a vanity that was way too long. So we reconfigured it, and now right when you walk in, you have the sink in front of you. I added some really fun artwork, the Mona Lisa with eye patches on and a glass of wine in her hand. And then behind me is the toilet. I can't stand when that's the focal point of a bathroom. And then we added an extra large shower behind us. So I really wanted this to be like a fun space. Some of the artwork on the wall says, "Take a seat, sweet cheeks." So it's just a really fun space. Home to me is just a special space that you can call your own. It's where you can block out all the noise of the world. It's where you build memories. I think that a home is really the backdrop to all of your memories, and it really tells your legacy a bit. I have 2 children, and I do hope that they love each and every ounce of energy that I pour into every space. It really just tells our story, and even in their bedrooms, it tells their own story. So home is a space that's more than a house. It's a place that you create memories, and you can have your own respite.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Alexis. Welcome to our Kentucky home. I'm so excited to show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Alexis Kazanuk. I am an interior designer and content creator, and welcome to my home in Lexington, Kentucky. We purchased this house right at the beginning of COVID, and it was a crazy housing market when we did. It was really, really hard to find a home. This house needed a renovation in every single room. It was totally outdated, but I could see potential. My husband could not, but I told him to just have faith. And so over the last 4 years, I've worked really hard on infusing character and personality into each space. All right, welcome to our library/playroom. This is the space where we spend the most of our time as a family. When we moved into this house, it was our formal dining room, and we knew that just was not going to function well in the stage of life that we're in with 3 little kids. So I transitioned it to a library with a bunch of hidden storage for the kids' toys. If you look in here, it looks like a pretty room from the outside looking in, But if you look inside the cabinets, they are full of, Hulk gloves and doctor supplies and floors, lava, stepping stones. So this is really nice. It's where our kids play. It's where we regroup after the school day and unpack their backpacks and go through how their day was. I wanted to make sure that there was a seating area for my husband and I. We sit here multiple times a day. It is where we start our days. We open up the windows, have our coffees here, eat meals here, chat with the kids while they're playing on the floor. This here is a storage bench where I hide a bunch of my thrifted goodies, especially the ones that I get while my husband's at work. It's like my secret hiding place in there. He never looks. So this is a really special place to us. Over here is a little peg rail that I added. It typically is full of kids' backpacks, so it's not as aesthetic as it is currently, but it's a great little drop zone for when they come in the front door. Shelving is full of 100% thrifted items. I don't think one thing on the shelves has been purchased at a retail big box store. I love collecting vintage books with really pretty spines. Anything like this wicker in rattan, I love the texture that it adds. I just recently purchased this floral painting for myself for Mother's Day because it's definitely the kind of flowers I prefer is through painting. So I love how it pops off of the blue. I think it's really pretty. So this corner of the room is one of my corners, Mom's corners. It is my desk. It's typically just full of kids' artwork and appointments that I have to make for the kids, but it's a good sitting space that's central to our home so I can still be with the kids and doing the things that I need to do. It was a really fun piece that I actually bought off Facebook Marketplace from a woman who lives in our neighborhood. So I love that it's an antique. I love that it still has the key that goes with it, and I can hide all of my mom stuff in there. This upholstery here, this bench seat and lumbar cushion is something that I had custom made just because these are custom built in, so I needed to have something made. I love the brown gingham. It speaks really well to this vintage rug that I have and kind of grounds the space because everything else is so bold with the blue and obviously the painting. And so I like keeping those two things very neutral. And it's obviously cozy if you want to sit here, read a book, have a cup of coffee. I love lampshades that have this pleated fabric. You will see them all over my house. I don't want a boring lampshade. So this is really fun and it's functional. It's on a little dimmer and I love putting that on in the evenings. It creates a fun little ambiance. All right, next I'd love to take you into my kitchen. Welcome to our kitchen. This is the space that probably has undergone the biggest transformation since we moved in. When we purchased the house, all of this cabinetry was just oak builder grade cabinets. We had kind of like a beige laminate countertop. All of these floors were vinyl. I mean, who knows how old the flooring was. We did not have this range hood. It was just a microwave here on the wall. And here were upper cabinets. So the day that we moved in, and when I say the day, I mean 2 hours after we received the keys to the house, my husband and I and my mom and brother that were here helping, we got our drill and we removed all the upper cabinets that were on this side of the stove because I could not take it. There were so many cabinets. I wanted to change the feel completely. So we unscrewed them and threw them out on the curb. And then the same night, 12 hours after getting the keys, we took these cabinets and raised them to the ceiling. So I had this vision in my head that I wanted to make this builder grade, boring space something that felt custom without spending any money. So that was the challenge, is, like I said, creativity loves constraint, and I was constrained. And so the cabinets used to be probably end right here, and it just had a bunch of open space at the top, unused space. So we unscrewed them, lifted them straight up, and just screwed them right back into studs. And then I built this under cabinet open storage, which we absolutely love. And by we, it's me. It allows me to be pretty and display things, but it's also super functional. These are the dishes that we use every single day as a family. And it really gave us more storage by doing that, because when we lifted these cabinets and added this upper shelf, it allowed so much cabinet space above, because all of our dishes are now on this open shelf. And then this might be the most controversial thing that I've ever done in the house. I found this pair of bookcases on Facebook Marketplace for $50 for the pair. And if you remember, I removed the upper cabinets over here. So it was just a blank space. And I found these shelves, these bookcases, and took them out to the front yard and sawed off the bottom so that it would be the correct height, placed them here, screwed them into the wall, and created custom cabinetry. I painted them the color of the cabinets so that they looked like they had always been there and they were meant to be there. I think they offer so much charm and character to the kitchen by being here. I'm really happy with them. I even put our microwave on them. You can see I drilled a hole through the side of the bookcases, and our little microwave has a perfect little home here. That was always a challenge for me because they do take up some counter space. Originally, our microwave was over on the other side of the countertop, and I just wanted to free that space so that we would have a lot of prep room when we are cooking. Yeah, I have a lot of fun styling these. It changes seasonally and for the holidays. It's really fun at Christmas time. I put a lot of red and green and vintage Santa Clauses. The kids get a big kick out of it, but it is extremely functional for us as a family and pretty. And then right off the kitchen is our dining area that we use. It made me feel more confident getting rid of our formal dining room because we had this space, which is just a casual eating space for our family. I wanted to make this space feel really special and cozy. So what I did is I stenciled these walls and did a lot of hand-painted details on them, and I added the shiplap here on the bottom. I've added a chandelier that has really pretty fabric shades, and I think it gives it a lot of whimsical feel. So the artwork is a thrifted find. They're really pretty botanical prints. This artwork also changes quite a bit in this space seasonally, but because we're in springtime now, I really like to add something with a botanical subject matter. And then the table is perfect for our family. So we're a family of 5. It has a bench in the back here. So our 3 little kids typically sit at the back of the bench, which is really fun and functional for them. I love that this table has really a modern twist to it. Just because I have traditional elements in the design on the stenciling, kind of gives a nod to kind of that cottage European style. And then this balances it out with more of a modern vibe. And then you have more of the cottage vibe with the chandelier and the pleated shades. So I think that's where my sweet spot is mixing different kinds of design elements. My personal style is a little bit tricky because it's a combination of a lot of things. It's very colorful. It's vintage, it's traditional, it's modern. I really struggle with trying to define my personal style, but I always start with patterns, wallpapers, textures, color, layers, anything just to infuse some personality into a once very dull home. And then right off of the dining area is our family room. We loved that this is all open. It's open to the kitchen. It's open to the upstairs, so I can always see and hear my kids at all times. This space, it was important to me to create a cozy space. We have 3 young kids. It needs to be cozy. It needs to have fabrics that are family friendly, nothing too pristine and special. Our sectional can easily fit all 5 of us, which we love. My husband insisted on an upholstered ottoman because we push it up to the sectional and put our feet up on it for movie nights. The fabric on the ottoman is actually a Goodwill find that I got for $3.99, and I reupholstered it just to bring some color and pattern into the space. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I wanted to add color through accessories and books, and so I never knew what to do with this big wall. It's a 2-story wall. It was very challenging for me the first couple years that we lived in this house. I experimented with a bunch of different furniture on this wall, and nothing really felt right. It always felt too small scale. So finally I came across this console system that has the flanking hutches, which I love because I have all of this hidden storage below, which once again is filled with kids' toys. So it's very accessible for the kids to easily get out, play here on the rug. But then it also has these glass hutches that I can display some things that bring me joy. So it's the perfect harmony between the two. Inside of the glass hutches, I have a thing for vintage books. Maybe it's a blessing, maybe it's a curse. I just cannot pass up beautiful spines and colors on vintage books. So I've started to run out of room. I might have to start putting some horizontally on top. But I really enjoy collecting these books and little trinkets that my husband and I have picked up during our travels. I want to make sure that I always balance out new pieces like the furniture with things that are old, vintage pieces. So in here, I always make sure I have really cool vintage decor and pottery and paintings. I also found my all-time favorite piece of art just this past year. This painting is by George W. Harvey. I had no idea who he was until I purchased it. It was $10 on Facebook Marketplace. On the listing, it looked to be a piece of art that maybe was an 8x10. And I told the seller, hey, I'm really interested in this. She had it listed for $10. I went to go pick it up and was pleasantly surprised that it was ginormous. And it was a real painting signed by George Harvey, which through a lot of Google research was a really famous painter. So it's a fisherman. He has a lobster cage, which I think is really cool because my husband is from New England and he lives and breathes lobsters. He loves lobster. And so it was just very serendipitous that this was a lobster cage, and I found it for $10, which is very exciting to me. So it's the main focal point when you walk through our front door. It's the first thing that you see. And then the sconces flanking either side, they are not functional, but they are pretty. I got these at an antique mall. I think they just add some character to a once very dull fireplace here. I painted this fireplace the same color as the trim that I painted throughout the house. I think Typically, you see the inverse where the walls might be beige and the trim work is white, and I did the opposite with kind of creamy walls and the trim being more of a grayish color. I think it adds a little bit of quirkiness. And then I love having vintage tables. So I have this really special table right here on either side of the sofa. I have vintage tables, which I think add a lot of character and personality. And like I said, I told you every room was going to have a pleated fabric lampshade, and this one does not disappoint. It's beautiful. I love the brown florals that are on it. This chair, my husband and I got early on in our marriage, and it was a splurge item, and he was very against it at the time, but I insisted on having a big leather chair, and so we got it, and now he has made me promise that I will never ever get rid of it, because I am a serial rearranger. I move furniture in and out of our house very often, and this is one thing that has stuck with us for the last 10 years and probably will stick with us forever. He really doesn't care about anything in the house. He lets me have complete freedom to do whatever I want, but this is one of those things that are just non-negotiable. And then this wall is part of our family room. It's given me trouble for years since we moved in, because it really is, it might be the most central part of our home. I feel like it's the hub of the home, and it had this horrible air return that was so hideous. And so I knew I couldn't cover the air return functionally, but I was able to create this custom cover on the air return so that it at least looks a little bit more intentional, a little bit more special. So now once I did that, I knew I wanted something on this wall, but it could not impose on the air return. So I found this floating wall table, which I really like how it has curves, because this is one of our main hallways of the house. And with 3 little kids that are about this height, I wanted to make sure they weren't running into a corner. And it also adds, a modern touch. It has a modern vibe, which once again, I have paired with vintage books, just, to bring it back down to reality. I like to have modern pieces with vintage pieces. This is a really pretty original painting that I found at an antique store. And I like to have little lighting throughout the house that's really nice in the evenings to put on. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with this thermostat that's totally messing up my aesthetic. But other than that, I'm very happy with how this little vignette has come together. So my career path, when out of college, I worked retail at Macy's in their executive development program for about 10 years, and I was severely uninspired. And so I met my husband, and he could tell that I was lacking that personal drive. And so he encouraged me to go back to design school, and I did that remotely while working other jobs, and just tried to follow my passion. And I had absolutely no portfolio, no experience with design, and a small firm in Cincinnati took a chance on me and hired me, and I worked there for a few years until my husband's job moved us here to Kentucky. And when he moved us here, I transitioned to a stay-at-home mom, which was wonderful, but I was absolutely seeking that creative outlet. So I started an Instagram page, which was totally out of my comfort zone. My youngest sister, which was cool and hip, helped me, nudged me into creating this space. And then that's how Maddox in the Middle, my Instagram page, blossomed, because I was just sharing my own DIY projects from home and just what I was doing anyway on a daily basis. They were all budget friendly. And then here I am 4 years later after starting that page and sharing what I do on a daily basis, and hopefully inspiring others, to infuse personality into their homes as well. Then from our family room, I'm gonna wrap you back around to the foyer. Our house, what I have come to realize, really creates kind of like a circle, and I only know that because my kids ride their bikes and their scooters inside the house on this circle that we've created from the playroom, the kitchen, the family room, and now into the foyer. It's the perfect racetrack for them. So the foyer, when we moved in, was a complete blank space. So it had these travertine tiles on the floor. All of the walls were cream, beat up, nothing on them, just plain drywall. The stairs were carpeted all the way up, and this was all oak wood on the banisters and the spindles. So this was another kind of creative thought that I had, because the ceilings, as you can see here, are 2-story ceilings. And when I walked in this space, I wanted it to feel special. It really is, it's not a grand foyer. It's actually quite small, but I wanted to pack as much personality as I could into this space. So it all started with this wallpaper. That was the starting point, the jump off point for this design. I love this wallpaper. We are in Lexington, Kentucky, which is horse country. So it's very fitting to have this equestrian paper. I really struggled with where I should stop the paper. I stopped it right at the mark where the first story ends and the second story begins. Just put a piece of trim work up there. I've never seen this done before. I'm sure that it has been done, but there was no way I was getting on a 2-story ladder and putting the wallpaper all 20 feet up in the air. So I created a stopping point visually and put this beadboard on the bottom half, which I think makes this space look a lot more historic than it actually is. I mean, this house was built in the 1990s. It has no history whatsoever. But I feel like by adding the wallpaper and the beadboard, it infused some history into it. And then I painted all of the doors and the trim and all of the stair railings this really rich, I call it Band-Aid color for lack of better terms. But I feel like it feels really warm, like a warm hug when you walk in. I added these doorknobs. It used to just be those builder grade, brass doorknobs, but I think that these doorknobs here add a little bit of character. This is a hallway closet, so it's a good drop zone for our family. And then this goes into our laundry room and out to our garage. So we're constantly in this space all day long. I've always wanted a grand foyer table, and it's not doable in this tight space, but I was able to find this table here, which is very shallow because this is our main entry point and we need to be able to fit through. So I like that it's shallow, and I like that it has the curved edges again, which really mimics the one that I have over in the family room. No bumped heads from the kids, and it allows me to display some of my favorite things. Everything has been thrifted. I love the texture that wicker mirrors add. I found this really cool horse at a peddler's mall for $10, which, like I said, we're in horse country. So she's cute. I need to name her. But I love that. I love having a lamp here at night. Once again, I feel like lamps cozy up a space, so I add them wherever I can. And I have this little pocket change thing that I found thrifting. Usually we throw our keys in here and not so much change, but it is a good landing spot. And anything quirky that I can find, quirky little magnifying glasses, boxes, pretty books. This space changes and evolves a lot. It's definitely not a space that's stagnant. It just depends on my mood for the day. I can easily switch out my little tchotchkes that I have. My go-to design tip would be creativity loves constraint. So my constraint has always been budget. I don't have the money or the means to just buy whatever I want to design a beautiful home. So taking time in your house actually is a blessing. Like waiting and being patient to get those special pieces in your home will make your home collected and personal and special. All right, now we're upstairs and I'm going to take you into our daughter's bedroom. This is my favorite room in the house. It is like an enchanted forest. So my daughter's name is Iris and she loves all things fairies, whimsical fairies. So I knew when I saw this wallpaper, she had to have it. It is the most whimsical thing that I think I've ever come across. It has bugs and birds and flowers, and of course the colors really spoke to me. She is just 6 years old and she loves all things color, pattern, bright, bold, and so I wanted to give that to her. So I started with the wallpaper and then went for a really pretty yellow trim, and then I knew that I wanted to do something special to her doors. So the doors were a special project for me. Iris was in her room as I was actively wallpapering it one day, and she said, "Mommy, can we paint my name somewhere?" And I was confused by the question because I knew I wasn't going to paint her name onto this wallpaper that I was installing at the moment. And so then I had the idea, why don't I just paint her name on the door, because that was special to her and it felt personal. So the door name evolved into a complete freehand painting project on the door, which then also translated to this door too. And I think it's become my favorite little hand-painted touch that I've done in the house. I've done a lot of stenciling and painting in the house, but this is a special project, and we always joke that when we move from this house one day, we're taking the door with us. But it makes her little 6-year-old heart happy, which makes me happy. We wanted to add a little bulletin board for her. It has a lot of her special mementos from school and recitals that she's been in and notes that she's got from family. So that's really special to her. I also added some special touches inside of her closet. This space was a blank space, just white walls and wire shelving when we moved in. And so because it's a walk-in closet, I knew that I could make it something special and add a lot of fun little things. Because she's 6, she's little. So I feel like I could make a lot of little nooks in this space for her. The first one is this little vanity area with a mirror. She has a bunch of craft supplies in those boxes down there. She plays the ukulele. She loves unicorns. So it's a really fun, whimsical space for her to just be a little girl, which I love. She has had a newfound love of reading. She's in 1st grade and absolutely is obsessed with books. So I did this really shallow bookshelf in here. It only comes out from the wall about 3.5 inches, which is fabulous. It allows for a lot of her books to be on here. And then the closet rod technically is right here. It actually is still under there. It's the wire closet rod when we moved in, and I just built this cover to go over top of it, and then I lowered the closet rod for her to be at her height so that she can get herself dressed, because we all know when they get to that age, they become very independent. She wants to get herself dressed, so this allows her to have that independence. This side of the closet, all it was just wire shelves, and I handmade these little scalloped covers to go on top of the wire shelving, and I hand stenciled these flowers to bring in here as well. All of these baskets and bins hold all of her toys. You know, she has a lot of stuffies, a lot of mermaids, a lot of fairies. So this allows her to have a ton of toy storage. I added a little chandelier. It has a vintage feel to it there at the top, and a cozy rug with some fun scallops. There's also a fairy door. Like I said, she loves fairies, and she truly believes that they are real. She leaves notes for them and presents for them, and then, you know, the fairies write her back on the notes as well. It's not me, but she communicates with them, and it's really fun for her. And then I have a full-length mirror in here for her as well. So that is the closet, and I will take you to the other side of her room now. For her bed, I found this headboard on Facebook Marketplace, and I think I love the spindles, that Jenny Lynn style. I painted it the same color as the trim worked so that it was cohesive. I wanted to add a bunch of fun color and prints on her bed with duvets and ruffles and gingham. Just the more pattern, the better. Pattern and color explosion. It brings her joy, so I love doing it. I have my signature lampshade here with the fabric and the colors. She uses this to read. It's really nice because it can move right over her when she's reading, and then she can position it back. I wanted to go with the theme of this being a secret garden, and so I found a lot of this stuff thrifting, this little bird cage, this original bird painting, and then even this little wicker house, which she has decorated with miniature little fairies and a little beehive, which I think is really darling. And then in this corner of the room is where either my husband and I sit at night when we're putting her to bed. There's another reading light that we added here. This table is usually full of Junie B. Jones books, which is her favorite series right now. She's just busting through them. This table's really special because I found it thrifting, and it has 4-leaf clovers that are carved into the sides, which I thought was such a cute little nod to the secret garden theme of her room. This dresser we've had since she was born. It was part of her nursery decor. I like that it's been able to grow with her as she ages, and it still works with the theme. I got her this recently. It's a little piggy bank. I think it's so darling because she loves to collect her money, and it goes with that little secret garden theme in here. And then of course we could not forget to add another fairy door down there at the bottom. She's even added her own little gemstones to decorate the door as well. So this space is really just a fun space for her to be a kid and to use her creative mind. And she loves it. It is truly a secret garden. All right, and now I'm gonna take you across the hallway into my boys' shared bedroom. All right, come on in my boys' bedroom. So my boys are 5 and 3.5. They're 18 months apart, and they love sharing a room. They don't have to, but they do so by choice. They requested a treehouse room. So I said, say less, I can make that happen. I started with this wallpaper, which to me just screams treehouse. They're up in the trees. And then from there, I layered in vintage piece after vintage piece after vintage piece. I have always been very drawn to vintage tennis rackets, and it's very fitting because all of my kids play tennis and take tennis lessons, and so they love having those there. I found their beds on Facebook Marketplace, and it actually is a bunk bed. So they're meant to be stacked on top of one another, but I will tell you, we tried that for a little while, and my mom heart just doesn't feel secure with a little 3-year-old up on top of a bunk bed. If you know, you know, boys are rambunctious. So we separated the beds and made 2 separate spaces for them, which works really well. I was able to find the perfect little bookshelf that is low enough so it doesn't impede on the window here, but that they can add all of their books. They love tennis, they play tennis, so I found this really fun canvas art at the thrift store. And tennis is not the only sport that they love. I had to add in soccer and basketball. I I feel like the theme in this room is not very cohesive because these little boys love everything. You know, they're just at that stage in life where everything brings them joy. And so I added there's a football, there's a basketball, there's a soccer ball, there's tennis. So then if you spin around to this side of the room, my son Maddox is obsessed with race cars, all things speed. So I found this at an antique mall and I knew that I had to have this because he asks me every time we're in the car, Mom, what's the speed limit? How fast can we go? Can we go on the highway? So I thought that this was really cool. He loves it. And then underneath here, you'll see a little vintage plate. It says Lebanon, New Hampshire. That is where my husband is from. And I found that at an antique mall as well. So that's really cool because it's just, you know, a nod to my husband's childhood here in the boys' room. Of course, there's a basketball hoop. It's seen better days. I mean, every night it is a basketball dunk city here before they go to sleep. So this gets a lot of use. And then we have a little reading corner here with a lot of their favorite books and a really, really fun little library lamp and swivel chair. And then above the tennis rackets, you'll see a Cincinnati Zoo pennant, which is actually where I'm from. So born and raised in Cincinnati. It's only about 90 miles from where we live here, and we still have membership passes and take the kids to the Cincinnati Zoo all the time. So I found that at a garage sale for $2 and knew I had to have it. So a lot of these things just speak to my boys' childhood and what brings them joy. At the end of their bed, I got these matching ottomans that are the same print as the wallpaper, and they are their toy, their personal, you know how it is like with sharing with little toddlers. So they are their personal toy storage ottomans that they can put whatever is in there that is important and special to them, and no one else can touch it. So the last thing in this room that's really cool, kind of quirky, is this sign that says Maddox. It's an equestrian and kind of iron sign. A friend of ours had a house in her neighborhood that was being remodeled, and this was the sign on their mailbox. Maddox was their last name, and they were remodeling the house, and she mailed it to me because she knew that my son's name was Maddox. And how fitting that it has a horse on it, because this came from Texas, and she mailed it to us. And I think that it's really cool, kind of a unique touch next to his bed that he loves. It's really special to him. I would say what I love most about my home is our library / playroom. Technically, it's our formal dining room, and I knew with our season of life with 3 little kids, we weren't going to be using a formal dining room. So I did the built-ins and made it a closed storage for all my kids' toys, and then a seating area for my husband and I. And we spend every day in there, from drinking our morning coffee, watching the kids play, talking to the kids after school. That is our main spot, and it's like our hub of the home. What gives a home a soul are thrifted objects, which is really silly to say, but that's how I created the home that I'm in now. It was not something that I purchased from a mass-produced big box store. It's those really unique items that nobody else has. Okay, and now we're gonna head back downstairs so I can show you the laundry room. So this is our laundry room. It's right off of our foyer, and it was a sad dungeon of a space when we moved in. You can tell it's windowless, it has no natural light, and it's small. But laundry is truly like, it is the thing that I do the most with 3 little kids, 6 and under. So I needed this space to bring me a little bit of joy. So I started with the wallpaper. I wanted to pick a wallpaper that had a really bright background to it. So I like how this has this creamy white background because it instantly makes the space feel brighter. And then I love all things botanical and colorful. So I knew that I wanted a classic print. I love the flowers and the block print on this wallpaper. And then the fun part came with the paint. I pulled the green and the rosy color out of the wallpaper to paint all of the pieces that are in here. This space, when we moved in, it was just a washer and dryer, and there were upper cabinets on this back wall that really served no function. They were just oak cabinetry, and we removed those as well. I feel like I went through a phase of just removing any and all cabinetry that was in my creative way. So remove that cabinetry, but I knew that I needed storage back here because we are a young family. We don't have a mudroom, so this is kind of a hybrid mudroom laundry room now, and I wanted it to look custom, but I don't have the money for custom. So like I said, creativity loves constraint, so I had to think in my head, how can I make something that looks built in, but is really cheap? So I found 3 pieces of furniture on Facebook Marketplace that were totally random, unrelated, from 3 different sellers, and I purchased all of them, and then I started creating a furniture puzzle. So the first piece I found was this chest of drawers, and then I found this, it's a cubby system, but it ended right here. So it was for like a preschool classroom that was no longer used. And this was shoe storage that I found from an old karate studio that was going out of business. So all in all, I bought all 3 pieces for under $100, but then I needed to cut them down to size to make it look like they were built in and they were always there, meant to be together. So I had to chop off the top of this dresser so that it would sit flush to the cubbies. And then I knew I needed to add some height to the cubbies because they were really low to the ground because they were meant for toddlers. So that's where this shoe storage came into play. It lifted it off the ground, about 18 inches, so that the height was my height and it made more sense in the space. And then caulked and added some trim and then painted everything the same color so that it looks like it was always meant to be and it was always back here. And it offers so much storage for us. There's hooks, there's cubbies. I have all these baskets here. I have additional baskets here at the bottom. All of these drawers house hats and sunscreen and gloves in the winter. We have our community sock drawer, which I feel like we're always looking for socks with the kids, so they can come and they can help themselves to whatever socks that they want. And then this peg rail actually is used for coats, when you come in, but I hang like towels and things that just need some extra dry time out of the dryer. I use this peg rail right here. So it's a tight space. You can see that it's very tight, but it's incredibly functional, which was my goal with this whole space. I also added this folding countertop because I do fold the laundry right when it gets out of the dryer. I'm one of those. So this allows me to not lose all little people's clothing in between the washer and dryer. It's very functional for us. And then I created this little shelf above the washer and dryer that just houses laundry detergent and dryer sheets and, a little lint basket and a couple of my pretty things. I also have a sconce in here with a really pretty printed shade, which I love. Just adds quirkiness and character. And then for the artwork, of course, something always vintage, always thrifted. I found a pair of these little numbered prints, which I think are really pretty. And then this bird art was just a piece of art that I ripped out of a book that I found at a thrift store and put in a thrifted frame. And I think the colors of it go beautifully with the wallpaper, and just go with my overall arching theme in the house of birds and nature and flowers and color. So this space was once very boring, and now it brings me a lot of joy, which I never thought I would say about a laundry room. What home means to me is a place where you can feel comfortable and be yourself. Homeworthy, it was so great having you at our house today, but it's time to go now. Bye.